Chapter 882, Attack of Experts. However, what do you want me to do since I'm now following you? Xia Wang asked. We'll decide this later. We want to go into seclusion for a period of time, so go settle down somewhere 10 kilometers away. Prevent anyone from approaching us. Guard us, said Jian Chen. Xia Wang nodded. All right, I'll do that. I do hope you won't go back on your words. You have to give me the divine water within 50 years. Xia Wang turned around and left, carving out his own cave to settle down in. Jian Chen, why are you getting him to follow us? He is quite strong, but he's of no great help to us. And can you really obtain more divine water within 50 years? Nubis asked in doubt after Xia Wang had left. He felt extremely confused with what Jian Chen had just done. Jian Chen raised his head slightly and zoned out as he stared the deep blue sky. We have a piece of the Octaterra map, so we should have the right to enter the Octaterra Divine Hall. From those experts who fought over the fragment, I've heard that only those below Saint Kings can enter. Xia Wang's of the 9th heavenly layer and he's not weak. There shouldn't be a lot of people who are his opponents at the same level. When we enter the Divine Hall, he should be of great help to us. What? Only those below Saint King can enter the Divine Hall? Doesn't that mean we can't break through? Nubis was surprised. Right. Before we enter, we cannot break through. This is why you must limit your growth this time when you go into seclusion. Fuck it. Since I can't break through, then I won't break through. Though I still can take in some of the hidden essence from that old snake. It'll take me to a level where I'm only an inch away from breaking through. It'll also make breaking through successfully much easier in the future. Alright then, I'll be cultivating. Nubis left the cave. Soon afterward, Jian Chen also returned to his secluded cultivation. He began to refine the monster cores in the Saint artifact with the help of the sword spirits. Right now, the chaotic Niden was only the size of a pigeon's egg. He still had a long road ahead of him before he reached the 3rd layer of the chaotic body. He needed to reach the peak of the 2nd layer as soon as possible. Master, you should be able to absorb the energy of the Yinyang Saint Rock once you reach the 5th layer, said Ziying. His voice carried a sliver of urgency. Ziying, what layer of the chaotic body will I reach after absorbing the energy? Jian Chen asked out of curiosity. Master's chaotic body should be able to reach the 7th or 8th layer, or even the 9th, after Master absorbs all the energy of the rock, Ziying replied after some thought. He was not exactly sure. Jian Chen's heart began to beat uncontrollably after he heard that. A sense of urgency ignited in his heart, tempting him to try and reach the 9th layer at this very moment. Just what level of strength will I have after I absorb all the energy? Will it be Saint Emperor? Or beyond that? If I gain the power that surpasses Saint Emperors, I'll definitely copy Mo Tianyun and charge into the Forsaken Saint world. I'll cause an upheaval there and form rivers of blood from my slaughter. I'll make it so that they will never have the ability to threaten the Tian Yuan continent ever again. Jian Chen thought as he clenched his fists. A few days later, a furious cry resounded from a grand divine hall that hung 100 meters in the air, several tens of thousands of kilometers away from where Jian Chen was. You trash, you pieces of trash. You're literally incompetent trash. You couldn't find them even when there were the 2 of you. Charlie howled angrily. The 4 emissaries trembled as they knelt in front of Charlie. Their faces were filled with horror. They had spent so many days outside, yet they had still failed to find Jian Chen and Nubis. All they could do was return to the hall and report this to the hall elder. Just wait for your death once the hall master comes out of seclusion if you can't get it back. You pieces of trash, just how the fuck did you screw up such an easy mission? Charlie paced around the hall furiously. He was extremely worried. Charlie, that thing has its own, unique presence, and it was also forged by an emperor 30,000 years ago. It contains a sliver of the emperor's power. That power should be the same as the power of the divine hall, so why don't we cast the water mirror technique together and see if we can find its whereabouts through borrowing a sliver of the hall's power? Jensen's master said. All right. That's all we can do now. I hope the hall master doesn't become angered when we use a sliver of the hall's power. Charlie nodded before turning to the 4 emissaries. Why don't the 4 of you hurry up and piss off? The 4 of them hurriedly climbed up off the ground and left the hall. Around 15 minutes later, the 2 hall elders walked out as well. Both of them seemed slightly weary, while Jensen's master held a piece of paper. We've found their whereabouts. Their positions are marked on the map. Immediately go with the 2 15th star elders to get the item back and redeem yourselves. Master, we'll definitely bring it back this time, swore Jensen as he took the map. Afterward, the 4 of them left together. Charlie said with a deep voice as he gazed into the direction they had disappeared off to, I hope they succeed this time. Sigh, that item's just too special. We can't let any part of it leak out or attract the attention of the other 2 halls. That's why we can't send too many people, or I would have moved out personally long ago, said Jensen's master with a sigh. Several days later, Xia Wang lied in boredom as he stared blankly at the ceiling of the dark cave. He was carrying out his tasks silently, guarding Jian Chen and newbies. He prevented any disruptions to their cultivation. Can he really get me the divine water within 50 years? Xia Wang cradled his head as he murmured on the icy cold ground. He had already repeated similar words countless times that day. To think that I, Xia Wang, someone who was also renowned among the people, someone who moves alone and does what he wants, would have such a day where I fall to such a level. I've become someone else's pawn. Whatever. This is my only hope of reaching the 15th star. If there isn't even the slightest hope, I won't have any chance at all. I'll trust them for now. Just some temporary grievances are nothing, murmured Xia Wang. He really struggled to yield and work below others with his personality. All he could do was constantly comfort himself and his unhappiness. Xia Wang's eyes narrowed at this moment. Crap, someone's come. He disappeared with a flash, having already left the cave. He appeared once again floating 1,000 meters in the sky this time. Far away, 6 figures shot toward them with lightning speed. In the end, they stopped 100 meters from Zhu Wang, staring at him with narrowed eyes. You're emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. Xia Wang's expression changed slightly when he noticed their clothes. Jensen looked at Xia Wang but did not pay any further attention to him. He looked around and said, they should be here according to Master's map, but it's not this person. The 2 old men who followed the emissaries looked in the same direction in unison. One of them said, there are 2 people in secluded cultivation right now. I wonder if it's them. Well, that's not a problem. Just get them to appear this instance and we'll know whether they're who we were searching for, said the other old man. Afterward, he grabbed at the empty space and the energy in the surroundings quickly began to condense. In the end, it formed a huge palm 100 meters wide that fell on the mountain on where Jian Chen and newbies cultivated. Boom! The mountain collapsed loudly. The palm strike sent countless pieces of loose rock flying everywhere, while the barrier cast down by newbies was obliterated like tofu. It could not withstand it. A 15th star sea soul warrior. Xia Wang immediately revealed an ugly expression when he saw this. The light in his eyes flickered uneasily. Who dares destroy my dwelling? Are you looking to die? A furious roar resounded from the collapsed mountain. Newbies flew out furiously from the rubble, while a cold light glimmered in his eyes. He radiated with great killing intent. The 4 emissaries' eyes lit up when they heard this extremely familiar and arrogant voice. They pointed at newbies. It's him, it's him. Elders, he was the one who took the item. A sliver of joy flashed past the old men's eyes when they heard this. They thought, he really isn't at the 15th star. Looks like the Hall Elder's mission will be a piece of cake this time. Boom! Loose rubble flew in all directions and Jian Chen also shot out of the rocks with the dragon-slaying sword in hand. He shot toward Jensen's group with newbies with a darkened complexion. He faced the people from the hall. They were separated by a distance of several hundred meters. Nubi's eyes narrowed as he examined these people. In the end, he locked onto the two old men and he could not help but become slightly stern. He said heavily, I didn't think two 15th star experts would come as well. Jian Chen's face could not help but twitch when he heard that two Saint Kings had actually come. He could only deal with 9th heavenly layer Saint rulers with his current strength. He was not the opponent of Saint Kings. Yansen could not help but laugh aloud as he saw Jian Chen and Nubi's stern expressions. Haha, don't you regret it now? This is the outcome of offending the emissaries of the hall. Too bad it's all too late now. There's no use regretting it now. Just obediently accept your deaths. Chapter 883, Fighting Saint Kings. Yansen could not help but laugh aloud as he saw Jian Chen and Nubi's stern expressions. Don't you regret it now? This is the outcome of offending the emissaries of the hall. Too bad it's all too late now. There's no use regretting it now. Just obediently accept your deaths. Nubis taunted them and said, Did you think you could deal with us just by calling two 15th star experts? As he said that, a humongous presence began to radiate from Nubis. It enveloped tens of thousands of mountains. The presence had vaguely surpassed the 9th heavenly layer, reaching an even higher level. There seemed to be a pressure in the presence. Nubis' battle intent was greatly roused. He felt no fear, as if the two Saint Kings before him could be defeated. Xia Wang's heart shivered when he felt Nubis' presence. He thought, no wonder he's so powerful. He's only an inch away from the 15th star, he can easily become a renowned expert within the sea realm. The faces of the four emissaries twitched slightly. They naturally felt that even though Nubis was not a 15th star expert, he was not far from it. His strength was beyond what they could handle. However, they relaxed immediately when they saw the two old men beside them. They were elders of the Serpent God Hall. They were real 15th star experts, unlike Nubis. As long as they were present, the three people before them could not really do anything at all. Your strength has reached the very limit of the 14th star, only an inch away from the 15th. Impressive, quite impressive. I believe reaching the 15th star is no problem for you as long as you have some time. The two of us are elders of the Serpent God Hall. I wonder if you have any interest in joining us. If you are indeed willing, I'll report it to the hall elders as soon as I return. I believe the hall elders would love the two of you to join, said a smiling elder who stood beside Yansen. He was called Sid, and since he came from the Serpent God Hall, he knew many more secret techniques than other Saint Kings. He could vaguely feel an extremely pure ruler's chi from Jian Chen and Nubis through a secret technique and presumed that they must have been the rulers of some clan. They possessed extremely great talent and had the chance of reaching the very peak of the 16th star. Experts of such a level would only be an inch away from becoming an emperor, so even the three halls needed to draw them to their side. You lot have traveled so far to find us. It shouldn't be about that, right? Jian Chen asked normally. The other old man, named Rains, also spoke out, correct. We've traveled so far to come looking for you, and it is indeed not because of that. However, if you are willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we'll be members of the same family in the future. Yansen immediately became worried when Elder Rains and Sid both spoke out, attempting to recruit the two of them who he absolutely despised. He said, Elder, but the two of them are, we know what we're doing. You don't need to interfere. Yansen was cut off by Elder Rains before he could finish what he was saying. Elder Rains stared at Jian Chen and Nubis fixedly. You may be disappointed if you had wanted us to join the Serpent God Hall, replied Jian Chen. You don't want to join? Elder Rains' face darkened. Correct, replied Jian Chen as he stared straight at the elder. He felt no fear. Elder Sid said, whatever. Since the two of you don't want to join us, we won't force you to. A few days ago, you stole a few space rings from our four emissaries. I hope you can return them to us. We will not trouble you if you do so. Although that was what he said, killing intent flickered in the very depths of his eyes. He thought, the hall elder has told me that the existence of the item must be kept secret. It must not be known by anyone outside of the Serpent God Hall. Since you don't want to join, we need to eliminate you even if you possess the ruler's chi. We'll return them to you since you need them. Newbies tossed over 4 rings extremely casually. The 2 elders rejoiced secretly when they saw the 2 of them hand over the rings so straightforwardly. They each caught 2 rings and began to look through them. At this very moment, Jian Chen and Newbies suddenly moved against the 2 elders as they looked through the rings. It was like they had already planned this beforehand. Newbies' hands became dyed with a golden color. He did not hold back any of his strength, grabbing one of the old man's neck swiftly. Jian Chen wielded the dragon-slaying sword, which was now covered by a dark light. It radiated with an energy of destruction as it stabbed toward the other elder. He thrust it out with his full power, reaching the absolute limits of his speed. It was unbelievably fast. The sword seemed to cut through time and jump through space. It arrived before the elder's forehead in an instant. The 2 elders did not expect Jian Chen and Newbies to actually move against them as they were esteemed elders within the territory of the Serpent God Hall. A large portion of their concentration was focused on the space rings as they looked through them, so the attacks took them completely off guard. Newbies' hands mercilessly grabbed at Elder Sid's throat. The hand ripped through his throat, tearing off a great portion. It revealed a collapsed windpipe and some meridians. The sliver of poison on Newbies' hand quickly wormed its way into the elder's body and his neck immediately began to give off a putrid odor. Jian Chen's sword stabbed into the center of Elder Rain's eyebrows with absolute precision. Just as it was about to reach his origin soul, Elder Rains grabbed the sword tightly with his wrinkled hands. It prevented the sword from advancing. Rains followed up with an explosive roar as he forcefully plucked the sword out from his forehead. To ambush us. You cannot be spared. Elder Rains became furious and gave out a deafening roar. His voice was filled with pain and rage. Although the sword had failed to injure his original soul as there was still an inch of distance, it had deposited a powerful and odd energy in his head. It currently rampaged in his brain, bringing him great pain. Elder Rains immediately used his powerful origin soul to suppress the sliver of chaotic force in his head. His hand lashed out like a bolt of lightning toward Jian Chen's chest. Jian Chen used the illusory flash, turning into a blur. He instantly disappeared from Rain's range of sight and appeared once again behind him. He stabbed out 3 times with a blur-like sword. Vast, surging energy poured out of the elder's body, forming a piece of extremely tough armor to block Jian Chen's lightning-fast attacks. The sword struck Elder Rain's armor with destructive chaotic force. The first thrust caused it to crack, while the second thrust completely shattered it. The third thrust stabbed through Elder Rains like a hot knife through butter. It pierced through his body and the tip of the sword appeared on the other end covered in blood. At the same time, rampaging chaotic force surged through the sword and exploded within the elder's body. Arg! The elder produced a chilling howl. He lost control of his chest as the wild chaotic force had already ripped open a bowl-sized hole there. It obliterated his organs. Jian Chen did not pause. He knew that he could not give this elder the time to catch his breath, so his arm jolted violently. The sword stabbed out once again in the form of a black streak of light, directly going for the back of the elder's head. He wanted to gravely wound the elder's origin soul. I'm going to make you die right here. The elder cried out madly. The surrounding space froze suddenly, trapping Jian Chen and his sword as well. Jian Chen's heart sank as he thought, crap. He did not pause and immediately forced the chaotic force within him to surge out. It shattered the frozen space like glass. However, just as he broke free, a hand snaked toward him and struck him viciously in the chest. Spurt. The defense of the golden silk mail was broken through immediately. Jian Chen vomited a mouthful of blood as he flew backward like a meteorite. I'm going to obliterate you. The elders' faces twisted violently. The blood from his forehead wound dyed his entire face red. Combined with the huge gaping hole in his chest, he seemed like a demon from hell. He was horrifyingly hideous. He fused with the surrounding space and caught up to Jian Chen instantly by using spatial force. He mercilessly struck Jian Chen with a palm. Jian Chen vomited blood a few times. His chaotic body had already been broken through by the elder's attacks. He was now heavily injured. On the other side, Nubis managed to heavily injure Elder Sid by catching him off guard with the surprise attack. He was currently chasing up with more attacks, before he suddenly saw that Jian Chen was in a tight spot. He immediately gave up on Elder Sid, going straight for Elder Reigns and beginning a grand battle with him. They fought even-handedly in the air. A powerful killing intent appeared nearby. It was Elder Sid, who charged toward Nubis with his bloody throat. Although he was heavily injured, he was still a Saint King. His life force was tenacious, so he still possessed an impressive ability for battle. I'll block them. You leave immediately. Nubis battled the two Saint Kings all by himself as he yelled at Jian Chen. Although they were both heavily injured, Nubis struggled greatly as he was up against two of them. He used all the power he had in him, only shying from changing back into his true form. Elder Sid and Reigns were only Saint Kings of the first heavenly layer, but as Elders of the Hall, they definitely possessed abilities that stood out. Their strength in battle was much greater than ordinary Saint Kings. Their true strength was close to the second heavenly layer despite their level of cultivation. A light flicked in Jian Chen's eyes. He hesitated slightly, before giving up on the idea of casting God's Descent to kill off the two of them. He immediately began to flee. The price for the forbidden arte was just too great. Even if he managed to kill the two of them, even more powerful elders would come later on. Killing the two of them would not solve the problem at all. The item might be on him. Don't let him escape. The four emissaries who were watching on blankly finally returned to their senses. They all pursued Jian Chen, engaging in a battle with him. Jian Chen had taken a palm strike from a Saint King, so he was heavily injured. Even with the recovery abilities of his chaotic body, he was unable to heal temporarily. He immediately felt slightly pressured as he fought against 3 8th heavenly layer Saint Rulers and a 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, unable to break free from them temporarily. After all, Jian Chen did not possess a strength that could rival Saint Kings like Nubis. Chapter 884. Fleeing from the Serpent God Hall. Xia Wang's eyes flickered with hesitation when he saw Jian Chen painstakingly fight the others. They're emissaries and elders of the Serpent God Hall. My God, how did they provoke the people of the hall? What do I do? Just what do I do? Am I supposed to participate or not? Do I help them? Thought Xia Wang. He struggled to make a decision. This lasted for a while. In the end, Xia Wang gritted his teeth and thought, whatever. I only have a little over 100 years left anyway. I'll do it for the divine water, for the chance to successfully reach the 15th star. Xia Wang finally made his mind up with that thought. He immediately charged at the 4 emissaries and took on 2 of them for Jian Chen. Xia Wang, how dare you? You have provoked the Serpent God Hall. Are you tired of living? Yelled an emissary. I'm paying a big price by offending the people of the Serpent God Hall. They definitely will be hunting for me everywhere in the future. I can no longer enter the territory of the Serpent God Hall ever again. I'm helping you out, so you better get me the divine water within 50 years. I'll swear to hunt you both down if you don't, Xia Wang said to Jian Chen as he handled the attacks of the 2 emissaries. Don't worry. I will not go back on my words. I'll definitely give you the divine water within 50 years, replied Jian Chen. The pressure on him had greatly reduced now that Xia Wang took on the attacks of 2 emissaries for him. He immediately thrust out consecutively with a sword using his full strength. His attack carried a devastating aura. Even though Jian Chen was quite injured, dealing with 2 8th heavenly layer Saint Rulers was not a problem. The sword turned into countless blurs that enveloped the 2 of them. The blurs stacked upon one another, completely flooding the space. The 2 emissaries became stern. They moved their hands and weapons in a flurry, devoting all their efforts to blocking Jian Chen's attacks. The sounds of weapons colliding constantly rang out. Jian Chen's sword clashed ferociously with the emissary's weapons mid-air and constantly produced a sound of screeching steel. It was deafening. Jian Chen's sword was just too fast. The power of a ruler armament was also extremely great, so every strike contained huge amounts of power. The two emissaries became covered in wounds after just a few seconds of resistance. One of them had their heart pierced, while the other had lost his left arm to Jian Chen's sword. They both produced a chilling howl, now incapacitated by their wounds. Fending off the two emissaries, Jian Chen immediately proceeded to assist Xia Wang. He worked with him to heavily injure the last two emissaries. He then left the area hurriedly as he pulled Xia Wang along. They disappeared very quickly. Nubis was also injured and he was now covered in blood. However, not only did this fail to lower his strength, it agitated the savage nature of his bloodline. He became more brutal as he fought, keeping the two Saint Kings busy all by himself. He even poisoned the two of them with his venom, forcing them to devote a portion of their strength to suppress it. This greatly decreased the amount of strength they could use. Elders, my ass. Is this all your strength? When I break through, I'll be able to kill you off with a flip of my hand. I'm not going to play around with you two anymore. Nubis opened his mouth and spat out a poisonous mist which engulfed the two Saint Kings. He quickly left the area, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. We can't let them escape. Let's pursue them. Yansen ignored his injuries. He wanted to chase the three of them. Don't chase them. Elder Rains waved his hand and stopped Yansen. He stared coldly in the direction where Nubis had fled and growled, Sid and I are currently poisoned. The venom's extremely potent, so we need to purge it as soon as possible. Otherwise, our lives will be in danger. The items are with them. We can't let them run far, but the antidotes we carry have no effects on the venom. We don't have the time to hurry back to the hall, so let's find a place immediately where we can suppress its spread. We can report this to the hall elders at the same time, Elder Sid said roughly. They would pass away very quickly if they did not suppress the spread of this poison. Within the Serpent God Hall, there were two types of elders, ordinary elders and hall elders. 15th star Sea Soul warriors could take up a role as an elder, but they needed to be at the peak of the 16th star to become a hall elder. Within the three halls, hall elders were only second to the hall master in terms of status and power. Elder Rains and Sid were only ordinary elders of the Serpent God Hall. The six of them were quite heavily injured and the two elders' injuries were particularly heavy. They needed to treat it immediately or they could lose their life. As a result, they did not continue their pursuit of Jian Chen's group and instead settled down somewhere nearby to treat their wounds. They suppressed the venom in their bodies and also reported this matter to the hall elders. The Serpent God Hall learned about this very quickly. Hall Elder Charlie was furious, so he immediately sent out two elders who were even stronger with more powerful antidotes to heal Elder Sid and Rains. At the same time, they were tasked with recovering the lost item. Although they were still in the 15th star, they were third heavenly layer Saint Kings when measured according to the system of the Tian Yuan continent. Jian Chen and Xia Wang fled far away very quickly. Currently, Jian Chen no longer paid any attention to his injuries and poured all his time into traveling. He wanted to avoid the experts of the Serpent God Hall from catching up. Not long afterward, Nubis also arrived from behind. He flew with Jian Chen and Xia Wang. He was pale-faced and in a horrible condition, constantly coughing up blood. He was heavily wounded. Jian Chen pulled out a large handful of Class 6 Radiant Spirit Pulls and handed them to Nubis. Eat these. They might not be able to heal you, but at least it can stabilize your injuries and stop them from worsening. Jian Chen did not want to reveal the secrets of the Saint artifact as Xia Wang was present. Nubis did not hold back, directly taking all the pills from Jian Chen's hand. He devoured them like candy. I really wonder if following you guys was the wrong choice. I didn't think I'd offend one of the three halls so quickly. The Serpent God Hall has supreme power in its territory. It can call on forces large and small, so we can't stay here any longer. We need to leave, grumbled Xia Wang. Jian Shen immediately pulled out his map and checked it. The Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory is the closest to us. We'll head over there immediately. The three of them moved toward the territory of the other hall, finally arriving at its border after 3 whole days. They were less than 10,000 kilometers from crossing over. In the 3 days, Jian Shen had made a full recovery thanks to the high regeneration speed of his chaotic body. Even Nubis had made a full recovery through vast amounts of radiant spirit pills, returning to his full strength. Jian Shen ignored any overexertion of his soul in the 3-day journey, and he kept his presence expanded to the maximum. He enveloped a radius of several thousand kilometers, carefully paying attention to the surroundings. They avoided any potential dangers. At that very moment, Jian Shen's expression changed slightly. He growled, "Crap, the experts of the Serpent God Hall have actually caught up. The people this time are even more powerful. We won't be able to put up any resistance. Let's go." "What? They've caught up again? Just how did they find us?" Nubi's expression changed too. Without any hesitation, he grabbed Jian Shen by the arm and charged forward. There was only another 10,000 kilometers before they were out of the Serpent God Hall's territory. Nubis fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to travel. His speed increased by 3 or 4-fold and he disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Xia Wang was also of the 9th heavenly layer like Nubis, so he tailed closely behind. However, 2 Saint Kings behind them traveled even faster. Nubis could vaguely feel their vast presences just when they were 3,000 kilometers short from the border. Bloody hell. They're at least of the 3rd heavenly layer. If they catch us, we won't have the chance to escape at all. Nubis' expression changed greatly as he cried out. He immediately sped up some more, flying toward the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall with lightning speed. The distance between the 2 groups constantly reduced as the Saint Kings pursued. Jian Shen's group could clearly see the figures of the 2 experts now. There were less than 50 kilometers between them. You wounded the people of the Serpent God Hall. The Serpent God Hall will pursue you to the ends of the earth. You can't escape. Just give up. A thunderous voice boomed from behind them. It was from the 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall. Just give up. Do you think I'm an idiot? Nubis snarled as he retorted. He did not slow down and instead sped up. Finally, the 2 elders began to worry when the 3 of them were only 50 kilometers from the border. They struck out decisively and shot out a powerful blade chi together. It chopped toward Jian Shen's group with insane speed. This attack completely locked onto them. They could not dodge. "I'll block it," bellowed Jian Shen. Chaotic force surged wildly in his body, boosting his defense to its utmost maximum. Boom! The powerful attack directly struck Jian Shen's chest and turned his clothes into dust. It revealed the golden silk mail he wore inside, while his chest directly collapsed. His bones were utterly broken. If it were not for the silk mail, he probably would have been bisected by this attack. Spurt. Blood gushed wildly from Jian Shen's mouth. His organs had turned to smithereens after blocking the combined attack of the 2 Saint Kings. His injuries were worse than before. As this happened, Nubis and Xia Wang left the territory of the Serpent God Hall as they pulled Jian Shen with them. They crossed into the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, but they did not stop. They continued their way until they finally disappeared into the horizon. The 2 elders stopped at the edge of their territory. They stared unhappily at the 3 of them as they traveled away, however, they unwilling to take a step over the border. The 3 halls of the Sea Realm were extremely territorial. They refused to let any people of other halls enter their land without permission, so the 2 elders did not dare to cross the border rashly. The consequences would be extremely great. Chapter 885, Abyssal Crystal. We were too slow. We actually let them escape into the land of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Do we chase them or not? An elder said with a deep voice as they watched the group gradually grow further away. The other old man replied after some thought, we can't trespass the Heaven Spirit Hall's lands without permission, we better report this to the Hall Elder as soon as possible. We can only take action after discussing it with the Hall Elders and the people of the Heaven Spirit Hall. The two elders immediately reported the situation to the Hall Elders afterward. Charlie and Jensen's master Bai Yen immediately became stern when they learned that Jian Chen's group had fled into the Heaven Spirit Hall's territory. They frowned in concern. It'll be troublesome now. I hope that the Heaven Spirit Hall doesn't find out about that item, otherwise, they'll want to take it. At the time, the Hall Master will need to head out himself, but if that happens, the two halls will definitely go to war with each other. The Sea Goddess Hall cannot find out either. If their Hall Master learns about it, she will definitely use the strength of her entire territory to destroy it. They cannot let the item exist, said Charlie. He was extremely grim. I can only hope that the people who've taken it don't know the secrets of the item and that the people of the Heaven Spirit Hall don't know either. If that's the case, then there is still a chance for us to fix this problem. Jensen's master's eyes flickered with a wise light. He had many more ideas than Charlie. What idea do you have? Charlie immediately looked toward Bai Yen. We'll negotiate with the Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall and send some people in the name of revenge. We need to get the item back, said Bai Yen. Charlie's eyes lit up. All right. I'll use a communication stone right now to contact them. Charlie and Bai Yen immediately used special equipment to contact the Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They told them the story they had prepared earlier, and after some good-willed negotiation, they were permitted to send people into the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. At the same time, 3 Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall currently sat together in the very center of their hall. The Serpent God Hall wants to send experts into our territory to kill off their enemies. Odd. Why do I feel like it's not as simple as it seems, said an old man between the 3. I also have a similar feeling, the Serpent God Hall must be hiding something from us. Otherwise, why would their esteemed Hall Elders appear personally for a small matter like this? They could just send other experts instead. It does sound a little weird if you put it like that. They totally could have just sent experts from tribes who lived in their territory to pursue their enemies who fled to our land. Why do they have to send people of the Serpent God Hall? The 3 Hall Elders found it rather odd and suspicious. At that very moment, a blurry figure appeared out of nowhere high up in the empty throne. The entire hall was enveloped by a terrifying pressure with his appearance. The 3 Hall Elders were surprised and immediately became polite. They looked toward the blurry figure and bowed, speaking in unison, "We greet the Hall Master." I sensed a sliver of the abyssal crystal's presence. "Investigate it immediately," said the Hall Master. His voice was ordinary, but it was filled with an authoritative pressure. What? The abyssal crystal? The 3 Hall Elders all became stunned, revealing a slight expression of disbelief. The Hall Master's figure had already disappeared. He did not say anything else. He seemed to have appeared only to give this single command. The 3 Hall Elders all looked at each other, and only after a while did someone speak. I heard the abyssal crystal originates from the Sea of Despair. The frigid chi there is so great that even emperors struggle to cope with it. I didn't think there would actually be an emperor who would risk his life and venture in for an abyssal crystal. The abyssal crystal's a special type of crystal. No one knows how it's formed, but it has the ability of gathering the essence of water-attributed energy. It's a legendary treasure among us, but no one has ever come into possession of it. It's said that in the ancient times, the great sea goddess removed a giant piece of abyssal crystal from the Sea of Despair and carved out a supreme divine hall. However, after the sea goddess passed away from age, the divine hall was left floating about through the Sea of Despair. No one has ever found its exact whereabouts. There is a special connection between abyssal crystals. They say that if someone finds a crystal and uses a special technique to forge it, they can find the exact location of the sea goddess divine hall. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. We should hurry up and carry out the hall master's command. Suddenly, a hall elder's face changed as he seemed to notice something. The business with the serpent god hall chasing a few people just happens to be fishy as well. Do you think this is related to the abyssal crystal? Do you think that the people who the serpent god hall are pursuing possess the abyssal crystal? The three hall elders all guessed this together, connecting the news of the abyssal crystal to Jian Chen's group. That's probably the case. Let's go organize some people immediately. It doesn't matter whether the crystal is with the people who the serpent god hall wants. We'll go check on it. If it really is that case, we need to obtain it before them. A mature, blue-robed lady who seemed to be in her 20s sat cross-legged in the air within a secret room. She was inside a huge palace within the territory of the Sea God Hall. She was dressed simply, but she was extremely pretty with a devastating appearance. She was like a fairy who had descended from heaven. Reporting to the hall master, Qi Nishuan has arrived, an old voice boomed from outside. Let her in. The woman moved her mouth and spoke with an enchanting voice. The door to the room slowly opened. The white-clothed Qi Nishuan walked in from outside. Her dashing face was slightly pale and some traces of darkness existed within the paleness. She clearly was still injured from the fight for the Octaterra map fragment and had not even purged the venom from her body completely yet. Qi Nishuan bowed courteously to the woman before her and said, Qi Nishuan greets the hall master. Qi Nishuan, go to the samsara pool and heal your wounds. After you're done, head out with Lei Batian immediately to the Heaven's Spirit Hall, the hall master said gently. Qi Nishuan revealed a sliver of excitement as soon as she heard she could go to the samsara pool. She would be able to heal her wounds in 2 days at the samsara pool. Even the poison that tortured her for so long could be purged completely. Qi Nishuan suppressed her excitement and asked curiously, may I ask why the hall master is asking me to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall? Once you make a complete recovery, you'll learn about the details of the mission from Lei Batian. You can go, the hall master replied gently. Her voice was emotionless. Yes. Qi Nishuan will be leaving then. Qi Nishuan bowed courteously once more before backing out. Although Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang managed to shake off the two Saint Kings, they did not relax at all. They continued their way into the depths of the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory without any change in speed and constantly changed their directions as they traveled. Nubis carried Jian Chen on his back as he hurried along. Jian Chen was heavily injured, currently pushing all the power of the chaotic body to heal his wounds. They traveled for 4 hours before they finally saw a medium-sized city near the horizon. There is a city up ahead. There are many people in there, so it'll be perfect for covering our trail. Let's stop there for now and continue onward after your wounds have healed. Otherwise, if we get caught by people again in your current condition, it'll be problematic, said Nubis as a suggestion. They have no idea where we've run off to. We can hide in the city for some time. The experts of the Serpent God Hall are bound by the agreement of territorial boundaries. They won't dare cross over, added Xia Wang. Jian Chen pondered for a while. He knew that he was not in a suitable condition to continue traveling. Since it was safe now, he probably should heal as fast as he could. He needed to maintain his peak strength at all times, so he can handle any sudden changes to the situation. All right, let's go in, said Jian Chen. Afterwards, the three of them flew into the city. They descended in a well-hidden spot, then found a relatively obscure inn and settled down for the time being. Just when they had settled down, the two elders at the border between the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall received the Hall elders' message and rejoiced. They did not worry anymore and directly passed through the boundary to the other hall's land in search of Jian Chen. There's still a slightly bloody smell in the air. This must be the path they ran off to. Follow me. One of the elders sniffed out the remaining smell of blood and immediately rushed off in the direction Jian Chen's group had fled. It was actually the exact same direction. The two elders stopped after traveling 10,000 kilometers. The old man with an extremely sensitive sense of smell sniffed the air once again and said, "The smell of blood is getting thicker. Looks like they only passed through here not too long ago. We've almost caught up with them. Let's go." The two of them continued onward and grew closer and closer to the city where the Jian Chen's group had settled down. At this very moment, several vast presences appeared in the distance. A few figures shot by with great speed, charging directly for the two elders. The elders paid them no attention, continuing along the way by following the smell of blood. They treated these people as passers-by. "Warriors, please stop." Suddenly, a voice cried out from afar. The voice was thunderous, booming through the sky and reverberated through the region. The two elders paused and subconsciously came to a halt. They quietly watched the figure approach them from afar, without reacting greatly at all. Soon, the people stopped 20 meters from the two elders. There was a total of 4 people, 1 old man, and 3 middle-aged men. The old man was a saint king but only of the first heavenly layer, while the 3 middle-aged men were all saint rulers. The old man clasped his hands at the two elders and questioned, "Are you two elders of the Serpent God Hall?" "Correct. We are indeed elders of the Serpent God Hall." "Why have you stopped us?" asked an elder with suspicion. "Esteemed elders, the 4 of us are members of the nearby Chenyang tribe. We just received a message from the Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They've invited the 2 of you to go pay a visit to the Heaven's Spirit Hall," said the old man with a smile. His tone was extremely polite. Chapter 886, Invitation of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. The 2 elders immediately felt a sliver of surprise when they heard that they had actually been invited to the Heaven's Spirit Hall as guests by the Hall elders. Although they were elders of the Serpent God Hall, it was only a status. They had no power as ordinary elders within the hall. Why would the great Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall invite them? They found this extremely shocking. However, the 2 elders frowned very quickly. One of them said, "Please relay this message to the esteemed Hall elders. We are overwhelmed by your esteemed Hall elders' invitation, but we currently have important matters to attend to. We just don't have the time right now. Why don't we pay a visit after the matters have been dealt with?" The old Saint King from the Chenyang tribe frowned slightly and said unhappily, "Elders, that may not be appropriate. Our Hall elders are waiting to meet the 2 elders right now. Do the 2 elders just want to brush the esteemed Hall elders aside and keep them waiting for you, or is it because you don't even acknowledge our Hall elders?" The old man's voice became rather serious toward the end. He had received strict orders from the Hall elders to invite the 2 elders to the hall no matter what. However, the Chenyang tribe did not have the strength to threaten them, so all he could do was mention the Hall elders. The expressions of the 2 elders changed slightly. They immediately explained, "No, no, no, that's not what we meant. How would we dare keep the esteemed Hall elders waiting for us? We're ecstatic over the fact that we've been invited by the Hall elders. How is it possible for us to not acknowledge the Hall elders?" The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall did not dare to offend the Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Every single person who could become a Hall elder was a terrifyingly powerful expert. They were all at the peak of the 16th star and only an inch away from the 17th. The old man of the Chenyang tribe smiled slyly and made a welcoming gesture to the pair. He said, "If that's the case, then let's go. The 4 of us will be guiding the 2 elders, to prevent any insignificant people from disturbing the 2 elders." The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall looked at each other and both sighed gently. They could only give up their chase of Jian Chen and fly toward the Heaven's Spirit Hall helplessly. The 2 of them did not dare to reject or ignore an invitation from the Heaven's Spirit Hall's Hall elders. 2 saint rulers also arrived at the city where Jian Chen's group stayed as the 2 elders were invited to the Heaven's Spirit Hall by the people of the Chenyang tribe. They were of the 13th and 14th star, experts of 2 different nearby tribes. The 2 saint rulers floated 1,000 meters in the air as they looked down at the city. One of them said, "The location given by the Hall elders is here. They probably erased their presences and have hidden themselves in the city. We're weaker than them, so it'll be extremely difficult for us to find them with our strength. Let's go pay a visit to the city lord's manor. The two saint rulers directly traveled to the city lord's manor, before disappearing into the large estate. Soon afterward, all the guards in the city set out, rifling through each and every household in a blanket search. The noise from below disturbed Jian Chen, who was currently healing in the inn they had settled down in. Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes and frowned slightly. He was stern. At this very moment, the door of the room was opened. Nubis and Xia Wang walked in. Jian Chen, there are quite a few guards conducting a search outside. Do you think they've come for us? Asked Nubis as soon as he entered the room. Jian Chen sat unmovingly on the bed and slowly nodded. That should be the case. They have indeed come for us. The Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall are searching for us. Nubis' expression changed slightly. What? The Hall Elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall? God damn it. They don't even know us, so why are they looking for us? Surely you haven't offended the Heaven Spirit Hall's Hall Elders as well, said Xia Wang as he stared at the two of them with suspicion. We have nothing to do with the Heaven Spirit Hall. Perhaps they've come with the same intention as the Serpent God Hall since they're searching us so suddenly? Jian Chen said unhurriedly. He could not help but think about the mysterious key which shone with dazzling blue light in the saint artifact. That's probably it. The Heaven Spirit Hall really does have experts with great abilities. As soon as we entered their land, there has also been someone in search of us. Nubis became grim. They had just fled from the Serpent God Hall. He had thought that they would be safe from now on and he could find a place and cultivate without worry. Never did they think that more trouble would come knocking on the door before they could even rest properly after entering the Heaven Spirit Hall's land. They were stuck in a troublesome situation once again. Open up for search. A rough voice boomed from outside. The door of the inn was kicked open and several soldiers in special, gray armor walked in. The three of them all looked toward the soldiers. The soldiers immediately felt their hearts tighten under the gazes of saint rulers despite the fact that they had just glanced at them. It was as if the air around them had turned into a vacuum, making breathing difficult. The leading captain forcefully maintained his cool and swept past the three of them with a fearful gaze. He said, "We've come under orders in search for some convicts. Warriors, apologies. We will be leaving." The captain of the squad did not dare to stay any longer. With a wave of his hand, he led his soldiers out of the room, before gently closing the door. Afterward, the captain immediately left the inn and shot toward the city lord's manor. Jian Chen slowly stood up in the inn and said, "Our exact location has been discovered. We're so unlucky. Why do I get into all this big trouble as soon as I start following you guys? Hunted down by the Serpent God Hall first and now the Heaven Spirit Hall is looking for us everywhere. If I had known earlier, I would have never joined you in your suffering even if I couldn't reach the 15th star," grumbled Xia Wang to one side. His arms were crossed and he was filled with regret. Nubis looked toward the whining Xia Wang and sniggered, "It's a pity that you don't have a choice anymore. You've already offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. Pretty sure they won't let you off no matter what. Even if you hide in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, they'll have ways to claim your life. The only way you can survive is by sticking with us. Let's not talk about that for now. We need to leave. They've discovered us. We can't stay here any longer," said Xia Wang. He could no longer backtrack. Nubis was right. The Serpent God Hall would not let go of anyone who had become its enemy in order to maintain its dignity. Jian Chen opened the window and stared out at the lively street in interest. He said, "The Heaven Spirit Hall's looking for us for no reason, so that definitely can't be good. We can't stay here anymore. We need to leave here immediately and go to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. We might be safer there. Are you sure that the people of the Sea Goddess Hall won't cause us trouble?" Xia Wang asked worriedly. Jian Chen hesitated. He could not help but think back to the words of the mysterious woman who had given him the water spirit's pearl. She had once told him that if he could not stay within the land of the Serpent God Hall, he could go to the Sea Goddess Hall instead, and that it would be safe there. I believe no one will look for trouble with us in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall, murmured Jian Chen. He believed the mysterious woman would not harm them. All right. I hope that's the case. Let's leave immediately, Xia Wang said rather urgently. He really did not want to stay here for even a fraction of a second longer. Every extra moment spent here could lead to increased danger. At this very moment, two vast presences appeared from the direction of the city lord's manor. Two figures directly flew towards where Jian Chen's group stayed. They traveled very quickly, arriving at the entrance of the inn in just a few seconds. Afterwards, they turned into a blur and climbed up the stairs extremely quickly, appearing in the room where they stayed. They were two old men who seemed to be beyond their 60s. They both wore blue robes, while their blue hair was tied up into a bun. Their eyes were deep like the starry sky, making it very difficult to read anything from their eyes. I am Dahan. I greet the three warriors. I am Tanishq. I greet the three warriors as well. As soon as the two old men entered the room, they clasped their hands at Jian Chen's group and greeted them before they could even speak. They were extremely friendly. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang looked at each other. Afterwards, Jian Chen replied like he usually would, "May I ask why the two of you have suddenly come searching for us?" "Warriors, we are members of two different tribes from this region. Not long ago, we received a message from the esteemed hall elders. They want to invite you to pay a visit to their Heaven's Spirit Hall," smiled Tanishq. "Please tell your esteemed elders for me that the three of us have important matters to attend to, so we may not be able to visit. However, we will definitely visit in person and apologize in the future," said Jian Chen. Dahan and Tanishq revealed troubled expressions. One of them said, "Warrior, that may not be good. This is a personal invitation from the esteemed hall elders. How can you turn it down? Please relay my message exactly as I said it to the hall elders. The three of us still have matters to attend to, so we will be leaving first." Jian Chen left immediately with Nubis and Xia Wang after throwing that down. They gained the attention of the Heaven's Spirit Hall as soon as they had arrived. They could no longer stay there anymore. They needed to leave as fast as possible. This was because the people who invited them this time were only saint rulers. Next time, it might become saint kings, and when that happened, it would be difficult for them to leave even if they wanted to. Chapter 887, Rulers Qi, Warriors. It doesn't seem like a good idea to just brush aside an invitation from the esteemed hall elders, Dahan and Tanishq said with troubled expressions. Within the Heaven's Spirit Hall, being invited by the hall elders was a grand honor. It was indicative of someone's status. An invitation like that could make anyone wildly ecstatic. No one ever turned it down. Dahan and Tanishq felt rather shocked by how Jian Chen's group declined the invitation so straightforwardly. The two of them had never imagined such an outcome. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang paid no more attention to the two of them. They left the inn after paying off their fees for staying. They stayed no longer than a moment in the city, immediately leaving the city at top speed and traveling towards the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Dahan and Tanishq frowned greatly as they watched the group fly off. They had failed the hall elders' mission, so they could not just return like that. All they could do was watch on helpless as the three of them left. Their strength was insufficient to obstruct Jian Chen's group. What do we do now? How would we report it to the hall elders? Tanishq said grimly. Dahan sighed gently, let's just report it just as what happened. There's nothing else to say other than that. Dahan and Tanishq sent a message to the hall elders using a special tool of communication, reporting everything exactly as what had happened. 5 hall elders had already gathered in the huge floating hall in the center of the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory. They had all received the command of the hall master to pour all their efforts into searching for the abyssal crystal, which was why they had all gathered together, currently discussing over the matter. Good. The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall are already on their way to our hall. We'll be able to find the people they're pursuing before them that way. I'd like to see if our guess is right or not. We would have committed a great deed if the crystal really is with the three of them. The speaker was a well-mannered, middle-aged man. He wore long white robes and seemed refined and educated. He seemed like a scholar. The man was called Mu-He. He was a hall elder of the Heaven Spirit Hall, one of the experts only second to the hall master. The old man beside Mu-He closed his eyes, before curling his lips into a slight sneer. I've just received a message. I sent some people to invite the three of them, but not only did they turn it down, they even ran off. They don't even want to come near us. Looks like the three of them really are fishy. Let's send elders across if that's the case. We need to get them to stay, Mu-He said calmly. I've already sent 2 elders. However, the problem's the distance. It'll take some time for them to travel, so all we can do is wait patiently right now. I'm sure there will be good news soon. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang flew as fast as they could. Jian Chen's wounds had already been silently healed by a strand of his Radiant Saint Force origin energy, allowing him to make a full recovery. He was back in peak condition. Jian Chen knew that both the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall possessed supreme secret techniques that could find their whereabouts. Erasing their presence was useless, and even hiding in the Saint artifact would not work. This was why they not bother with concealing themselves at all, flying over countless tribes of different sizes as they radiated with their huge presence. They went straight for the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Every tribe and clan in the Sea Realm was fiercely territorial. It was forbidden for anyone to fly their territory without their permission, or it would be taken as an open provocation that would rarely be dismissed so easily. As a result, the trio ended up offending many tribes and clans as they flew. However, most of them were powerful. They immediately shut up and turned a blind eye as soon as they sensed that the 3 of them all radiated with peak 14th star presences. They did not follow up on their rude actions. However, not all of them feared the trio. With a long whistling of wind, an old man immediately shot into the sky with a grand presence when they flew through the space of a large organization. He chased the 3 of them furiously. How dare you, little brats! How dare you trespass on my Shenhua clan! You completely look down on us. Stay behind and name yourselves. Or I'll have to take some actions against you all. The ancestor of the Shenhua clan roared. He fused with the surrounding space to chase them through the use of spatial force, reaching a speed several times greater than the 3 of them. The Shenhua clan was one of the strongest clans in the radius of hundreds of thousand kilometers. They were equivalent to an ancient clan on the Tian Yuan continent. They were renowned as they possessed a Saint King. It's a 15th star Sea Soul warrior. Xia Wang's complexion changed when he sensed the presence of the old man from behind. The 3 of them knew that they could not outrun Saint Kings, so they all stopped. Nubi stared at the old man as he flew over with a sunken face and swore, "You dare to act so arrogantly just because you're a puny first heavenly layer Saint King? Allow grandfather Nubis to teach you a solid lesson." Nubi's battle intent skyrocketed, charging towards the old man with an unstoppable force. The ancestor of the Shenhua clan thought that they had been stunned by the fact that he was a 15th star Sea Soul warrior when he saw them stop. He rejoiced secretly, but just as he was about to reprimand them, he saw Nubis charging over ferociously. A cold light flashed across his eyes and he sneered, "Come at me, you ignorant brat. You would actually challenge a 15th star Sea Soul warrior when you're only at the peak of the 14th. I'll show you the power of a 15th star Sea Soul warrior." The old man hurled a punch towards Nubis as he said that. Nubis did not fear him. His fist immediately became golden, directly colliding with the old man's punch with a powerful energy. Boom! The collision of their fists almost shattered the surrounding space, causing it to tremble violently. The residual energy splayed downwards, causing the earth to shake. The vegetation below turned to dust from the powerful energy. The 2 of them stood unmovingly after the punch. They floated steadily, before clashing ferociously once again. I've underestimated you. I didn't think that you'd possess the strength that rivals a 15th-star Sea Soul warrior despite only being at the peak of the 14th star, bellowed the old man. Afterwards, he used his thought to freeze the surrounding space, trapped Nubis within it. Nubis spat out a breath of venomous gas which engulfed the old man, before swinging his two hands as claws, shattering the frozen space. Caught off guard, the old man inhaled a breath of the poisonous gas. His expression changed immediately. The venom of the silver-striped golden snakes was extremely potent, so even when he was a Saint King, he experienced a moment of lightheadedness. In just a mere moment, Nubis' claws raked across the old man's chest with lightning speed, leaving behind a dozen or so wounds. The wounds darkened as black blood flowed out. They had been contaminated by the venom in Nubis' hands. The ancestor of the Shenhua clan gave out a howl. His expression finally changed. He stared at Nubis in dread. Never did he think that he would be injured by a mere 14th-star Sea Soul warrior, and that the injuries would be so heavy. Leave. My clan won't dwell on the matter of you intruding our territory, shouted the ancestor. He immediately lost interest in the battle and flew backwards. Nubis licked the blood on his hands. The sharp smell had awakened the viciousness of magical beasts hidden in his blood. He sneered, I've yet to kill a Saint King myself. Since you can looking for it yourself, become the first Saint King will fall in the hands of the great Nubis. From afar, Jian Chen's expression changed abruptly at this very moment. He yelled out, Nubis, let's go. They're already catching up. We can't drag it out any longer. Nubis also changed slightly in expression when he heard that. He ignored the ancestor of the Shenhua and immediately continued on his way to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall with Jian Chen and Xia Wang. The three of them fled for another hour before finally being caught up by the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, stopping them in their tracks. The Heaven's Spirit Hall had only sent 2 elders, but they were both of the 3rd heavenly layer. They were extremely powerful where even Nubis would not be able to deal with them. The 2 elders did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed the 3 of them, before narrowing their eyes and they exclaiming, Ruler's Chi. It's the Ruler's Chi. It's actually on them. Ruler's Chi normally only appeared on the rulers of certain clans. Not only did they represent the leaders of a clan, it was an indication of their status and an embodiment of their strength. Among the sea race, these rulers were akin to beasts of antiquity among magical beasts. Like the silver-striped gold snakes, they were extremely rare and had great potential for growth. Their strength was also shocking, much greater than people of the same level. However, the ruler's chi could only be seen through the secret techniques of the 3 halls other than by members of the same clan. Other people could not sense it at all. We actually found 2 people with the ruler's chi in one go. The 2 elders were filled with joy. They knew extremely well that people with the ruler's chi would definitely become as strong as hall elders, or even reach a higher level, like an emperor. This was because the 3 emperors currently present among the sea race all possessed the ruler's chi of a certain clan. Chapter 888, God's Descent slays Saint Kings. No wonder the esteemed hall elders sent the 2 of us to invite these mere 14th-star Sea Soul warriors as guests. So they possess the rare ruler's chi. A similar thought appeared in both of the elders' heads at this moment. Their gazes toward Jian Chen and Nubis also became much softer. They now believed that the hall elders had invited Jian Chen's group to the Heaven's Spirit Hall to get them to join them and had sent the 2 of them to express the hall's sincerity. After all, only by sending 15th-star experts could the Heaven's Spirit Hall express their sincerity in inviting those who possessed the ruler's chi. Esteemed rulers, our hall elders have invited you as guests. I hope you can return with us, an elder said to Jian Chen and Nubis with clasped hands. His old face was full of smiles, only looking at Jian Chen and Nubis without even glancing at Xia Wang. The 3 of them looked at each other sternly. Nubis asked Jian Chen through a mental message, What do we do, Jian Chen? We can't go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Kill them. Jian replied with a similar mental message as killing intent flashed through his eyes. Nubi's eyes became remorseless and he no longer hesitated. Powerful battle intent surged from his chest, targeting the two Saint Kings from the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Nubis could not match any of them in a battle, but all he needed to do was keep them busy temporarily. At the same time, Jian quickly flew backward. He immediately retreated several hundred meters, before forming a seal with his hand. He lifted his head up high and pointed it at the sky. He bellowed, "God's descent." Jian and Nubis did not even have the ability to run away before two-third heavenly layer Saint Kings. The only way out was casting the forbidden arte. "Rulers, what do you intend to do?" The two elders were filled with confusion against Nubis' attacks. They only blocked without retaliating. They had no inkling about the abyssal crystal. All they thought was that the hall elders wanted to pull these two people to the Heaven Spirit Hall as they possessed the ruler's chi. As such, the elders did not dare to go overboard with them, just in case they shot through the ranks and used the two of them to make an example. At this very moment, the light in the surroundings glowed brighter. A milky white ball of light suddenly appeared in the sky and quickly passed through the seawater toward them. It turned the sea world that was always deep blue to a snow-white color. What's that?" The two elders raised their head as expressions of disbelief flooded their faces. Even on the Tianyuan continent, it was rare for someone to have seen the charging up period of the god's descent, let alone the sea race who dwelled in the sea realm. Even as Saint Kings, they had never heard of the arte. With Nubis keeping them busy, Jian completely charged up the arte. His hand seals changed once more and he muttered, "I offer 500 years of my life to cast the forbidden technique, God's descent." The milky white light in the sky suddenly exploded after Jian finished this sentence. It flooded the entire region with light, illuminating a large portion of the sea realm. Shortly afterward, a huge pillar of white light descended from the sky and encased a radius of several dozen kilometers. The original laws of the world were disrupted in the region encased by the light. A new set of laws were formed and their mysteries clearly appeared in Jian's head. It allowed him to control everything in here like his limbs. At this moment, Jian seemed to have become the supreme ruler of this space, a great god of the region. Regardless of Nubis, Xia Wang or the elders from the Heaven Spirit Hall, all of them felt that they had lost all their abilities as saint rulers or saint kings now. They could no longer control world force or the mysteries of space. Where is this place? What did you do?" growled an elder. The two of them felt that something was off for the situation to develop like this. However, they just could not understand why the two people with the ruler's chi would want to be their enemies. Jian said nothing. He knew that he wanted to leave the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, so he needed to eliminate the two Saint Kings before him. Otherwise, no one could guarantee that the two of them would not forcefully take them back. Jian's mind fused with the surroundings perfectly. He controlled the laws with his thoughts. Extending a finger, the space before him undulated like water. Two ripples immediately shot toward the two Saint Kings. "They want to kill us," cried out both elders. They could no longer afford to pay any attention to Jian and Nubi's statuses as rulers when their life was under threat, so they both pulled out their weapons in resistance. Both of their weapons were the same type of trident. They swung their tridents wildly, shooting out two crescent-like waves of energy to fend off the incoming ripples. These ripples were formed from the energy of the laws of this world. They directly consumed the two waves of energy and quickly pierced through the chests of two elders. Silently, their chests were corroded to reveal a bowl-sized hole. The wounds from the laws of the world did not bleed, but they could not heal either. The two elders both groaned in pain as they looked at Jian in shock. They felt that he had become exceedingly terrifying at this very moment. "We can't stay here. We need to leave immediately," growled an elder. Afterward, he fell back decisively. The other elder did not hesitate either, heading off in another direction. "Unless you break through this domain, you won't be able to leave without my permission." Jian's cold voice was heard by the two elders. We never provoked you. Why do you want to kill us? An elder asked loudly. You already provoked us the moment you asked us to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. I know that if we said we wouldn't, you would forcefully take us there. The two of them heard Jian Chen's illusionary voice. The two elders shut up with that because they indeed had planned it like that. The hall elders' orders were that they had to bring the three of them back. If they failed with words, they could only forcefully take them away in order to complete the mission. It was just that the trio's reaction speeds completely exceeded their expectation. Jian Chen's eyes immediately became remorseless when he saw their expressions. Killing intent rose up in his heart as he murmured, "Annihilate." The clothes of the 2/3 heavenly layer Saint Kings instantly dissolved. It scattered into dust, before completely disappearing. Shortly afterward, their flesh began to split. It cracked like pottery and quickly spread out. These cracks soon covered every inch of their bodies. Fresh blood flowed, dyeing them red all over. The agony caused the two of them to howl uncontrollably. Vast quantities of energy leaked from their body and formed a layer of armor on their bodies to resist the invasion of the mysterious power. God damn it, what the hell is this thing? We can't stay here. We need to leave. The thought of retreat crossed the elders' minds after experiencing the odd domain and the weird energy. They no longer dared to stick around any longer and speeded up their escape. Jian Chen did not let them go. With the point of a finger, another 2 ripples of space formed from the laws of the region. The ripples shot toward the pair with lightning speed. Just as they wanted to dodge it, the surrounding space froze suddenly, solidly immobilizing them. Spurt. The power of the laws directly passed through the center of their eyebrows and injured their origin souls. The elders experienced agonizing pain as their origin souls were injured. They uncontrollably produced a chilling howl and their voices were filled with pain. Still not dead. Jian Chen was bathed in a bright white light. He was like a god who had descended, a consecrated existence. With a slight gesture of his right hand, another 2 waves of power shot over, piercing their souls once again. The 2 elders clutched their heads as they tossed and turned around painfully on the ground. The souls of Saint Kings were extremely powerful. Even after taking 2 heavy blows, their souls had not vanished. However, they had become extremely weak nonetheless. At this moment, 2 huge palms condensed immediately above them. They fell like bolts of lightning, brutally crushing the elders' heads. The 2 elders stopped howling. Their heads had shattered and they were bleeding from all 7 orifices. Their eyes also quickly became lifeless. The palm strikes had dispersed their heavily injured origin souls, wiping them out directly. This was how 2/3 heavenly layer Saint Kings died to Jian Chen's god's descent. Jian Chen stopped the technique with their deaths. The milky white light that radiated the surroundings slowly dispersed and everything returned to its previous state. However, Jian Chen's face had already become drained of blood. It was extremely difficult for him to resist an instantaneous loss of 500 years of life. He became extremely weak, void of all power. He even struggled to move a finger. He then collapsed from midair. Nubis appeared beside him with a flash and caught his falling body. He stared at Jian Chen sternly and said, "You've lost another 500 years of life. Combined with last time, you've lost a total of 1,000. Jian Chen revealed a smile. "It's not a problem. As long as we finished off the 2 of them, losing a bit of life is nothing. When I make another breakthrough, I'll just get another 3,000 years of life. Though, it's quite fortunate that none of the 2 could use a saint-tier battle skill. Otherwise, killing them would not have been so easy. Let's not talk about this for now. We need to flee. I'm sure that more experts will catch up from the Heaven's Spirit Hall without much time," Nubis said sternly. Afterward, he arrived before the 2 corpses of the elders and took away their space rings with a wave of his hand. He proceeded to leave with Jian Chen on his back. "Xia Wang, what are you staring idiotically for? Hurry up," Nubis did not forget to remind him as he walked past Xia Wang. Xia Wang jolted, finally returning to his senses. He stared at the corpses of the two elders, clearly still shaken. The shock in his heart had reached an absolute maximum. He could say nothing. Never did he think that Jian Shen, who was weaker than newbies, possessed such a terrifying ability. He had not imagined that Jian Shen could kill off two 15th star experts all by himself in such a short time. This astounded him. The 5 hall elders sat patiently in the huge hall at the center of the region, waiting for news. At that moment, an elder stood up abruptly and cried out involuntarily, "Crap, the 2 elders I sent have been killed." Chapter 889, Movements of the 3 Halls. What did you say, Luo Fu? The 2 elders have been killed? How is that possible? Who dares to kill the elders of our Heaven Spirit Hall? Was it the Serpent God Hall? The hall elders all stood up, each and every one of them furious. The deaths of 2 15th star elders was a heavy loss to the Heaven Spirit Hall. After all, there just were not that many 15th star experts compared to the 14th star. Every single one of them made up the central power of the hall. As a result, even just the loss of one would be painful. Hall Elder Luo Fu shook his head. The residual soul I left on them has vanished. Through the soul, it seems that the 2 of them died to the 3 people hunted down by the Serpent God Hall. How's that possible? They actually killed 2 15th star elders with their strength as 14th star Sea Soul warriors? Just how did they do it? Do they all possess Tian level saint techniques? A hall elder cried out involuntarily. He was filled with disbelief. I also have no idea how they did it, but before the 2 of them died, I felt their souls disappear for some time as if they had vanished into another space. When I could feel their souls again, the 2 of them were already dead. I think the 3 of them must have used a method that we do not know of to kill the elders, Luo Fu said with a deep voice. Humph. If 15th star elders can't bring them back, then we'll send some 16th star elders. By the order of the 5 great hall elders, send the 3 disciplinary elders together. That should be enough to bring the 3 of them back, ordered Muhi. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall were all famed experts and saint kings of the 5th heavenly layer. Probably only the 10 protector clans and mercenary city had the power to send out 3 5th heavenly layer experts at once on the Tian Yuan continent. However, none of them had enough saint kings to rival any of the halls of the sea realm. This was because the sea race itself was stronger than the humans of the Tian Yuan continent. They just had more people, whether it be saint rulers or saint kings. Also, there were only 3 peak-level existences in the sea realm. Almost all the experts gathered in those 3 organizations. The Tian Yuan continent had a total of 11. However, even if they were matched accordingly, even 4 protector clans would fail to rival any one of the halls. At the same time, Charlie and Bai Yen sat there in the Serpent God Hall with ugly expressions. They had also received messages from the 2 elders they had sent and knew about their current situation. Why have the hall elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall invited 2 of our ordinary elders as guests out of the blue? Perhaps they've discovered the secret about the abyssal crystal and hence purposefully wanted to get in the way of our 2 elders? Bai Yen said with a deep voice. His face was sunken. That's very possible. The matter of the abyssal crystal is extremely significant. Do you think we should call on the other hall elders and discuss this matter together? Charlie was stern. Not now. We've never gotten along with them. If they learn that we've committed a huge mistake, I worry that they'll just take advantage of the situation just to trouble us. They just happen to be in secluded cultivation right now, so we're the 2 most authoritative members of the hall. There are still chances for us to amend this situation. I'll send out the 4 divine generals immediately, Bai Yen said. The 4 divine generals consisted of 4 people at the 5th heavenly layer, all 16th star Sea Soul warriors. Meanwhile, the white-clothed Qing Yishuan had just left the Sea Goddess Hall all energized. Thanks to the Samsara pool, she had recovered completely from her wounds. Even Nubi's nasty poison was completely purged. Qin Yishuan passed through the hall with familiarity as she held a medallion. Along the way, she would see emissaries from time to time. They all looked at her with a sliver of respect, the respect felt toward an expert. Although Qin Yishuan was a human, she had already lived in the sea realm for many years. She had been here ever since she was a saint ruler and stayed there since. She eventually reached her current level of cultivation and became one of the 8 great human experts of the sea realm. She also maintained a decent relationship with the sea goddess Hall, and it supported her from behind. Now, Qin Yishuan had already become like a member of the Hall. Although she never joined them officially, she did many things for the Hall, so she was equivalent to one. Qin Yishuan passed through the many hallways and palaces before coming to an ordinary-looking side hall. 3 people sat close-eyed inside it as if they were waiting for something. One of the 3 was a middle-aged man. He seemed to be around 40 years of age and wore tight black robes. He had strong facial features and was covered with black facial hair. He was very burly with a broad chest and tan skin. He seemed like a black bear. The other 2 people were white-robed elders. They were ruddy and sage-like, similar to immortals. They gave off a feeling as if they had already transcended worldly affairs. The 2 old men were the same people who had helped out Qin Yishuan when she went to steal the Octaterra map fragment. They helped her earn some precious time to flee. As soon as Qin Yishuan entered the hall, the 3 people opened their eyes in unison. They all looked at her. She walked into the center of the hall and stopped, gazing uncaringly toward the burly middle-aged man. She said, "Lei Batian, the Hall Master has sent me to find you to go to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. What's the mission this time?" Lei Batian was one of the 5 renowned magical beast experts among the sea race. He was of the 6th heavenly layer and his original form was a mutated black bear. He was extremely powerful, only second to beasts of antiquity. Lei Batian stood up and murmured, "The Hall Masters sent us to the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory to bring back a few people safely. Since we're all here now, we can set off." Lei Batian, just who are these people to have the Hall Master personally order us to bring them back? One of the old men asked. He was also one of the 8 great human experts, Mo Ziren. The other great human expert, O Yun, also looked toward Lei Batian after what Mo Ziren said. He was obviously curious about the identities of their targets. Lei Batian shook his head. "Don't ask me, I don't know who they are either. The Hall Master has just given me the method to search for them. If you want to know just who they are, you'll discover that when you find them. My injuries have just been healed. Once the mission is complete, I won't be returning with you. I have other important matters to attend to in the territory of the Serpent God Hall," Qin Yishuan said icily. Her face was frozen like frost. Lei Batian could not help but become curious when he saw how sullen Qin Yishuan was. He asked with a muffled voice, "Qin Yishuan, why do I feel like you're a completely different person? Just what has happened?" Mo Ziren and O Yun could not help but smile when they heard this. Mo Ziren chuckled. "Looks like you don't know about it. A few days ago, when Qin Yishuan went to steal the Octaterra map fragment, she finally succeeded after putting in a tremendous amount of effort. But at the very end, 2 brats appeared out of nowhere and ambushed her. They also took away her map fragment. They were only saint rulers." "Oh, something like that happened? Those 2 brats sure are brave to steal something from one of the 8 great human experts." Lei Batian's face revealed some curiosity as the corner of his lips curled up vaguely. He thought, no wonder Qin Yishuan was so sunken-faced. A 5th heavenly layer Saint King actually had her stuff stolen by 2 puny saint rulers. That sure is a big embarrassment. Lei Batian, Mo Ziren, and O Yun only knew that the 2 juniors had taken the map fragment. No one knew how they would react if they found out that the juniors had taken more than just that and had taken an undergarment of hers as well. Qin Yishuan's face became even darker as she heard the discussions of the 3 of them. She clenched her fist tightly as great rage and killing intent burned in her eyes. She gritted her teeth. "I will definitely find the 2 of them and personally obliterate them." Only that can free me from my hatred. Lei Badian sniggered, go find them after you finish the mission from the hall master. Alright, since everyone's here, we should head out. Afterward, the four of them left the Sea Goddess Hall, heading straight for the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Although the four of them helped out the Sea Goddess Hall with matters, they were not official members of the hall. As a result, they could move around through the three territories at will. Access to the three major regions of the Sea Realm was only restricted for members of halls. Other people, such as people of clans, tribes, or people completely unconnected to any organization were not bound by this agreement. In the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, Jianchen, Nubis and Xia Wang continued to flee as their lives depended on it. Although they killed 2 Saint Kings of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they knew that the problems were far from over. Instead, the situation had become even more severe because their incoming enemies would only become stronger and stronger. The three of them traveled straight for the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. As they traveled, Jianchen expanded his presence from time to time, surveying the surroundings and checking on the power of the tribes while they flew past. In order to save time, they would fly over small tribes without any worry, taking the quickest route to a safe haven. However, once they came across a large tribe with Saint Kings present, they would avoid it from afar and detour around it. They wanted to avoid provoking any more unwanted trouble on the way, as that would take up time. Chapter 890, A Chaotic Battle, 1. After 2 days of traveling, the three of them had already traversed several hundreds of thousands of kilometers. They were now at the edge of the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory, only a little over 200,000 kilometers from the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. This was all because of the speed at which Nubis and Xia Wang traveled at using spatial force with their cultivation of the 9th heavenly layer. If it was only Jianchen, he probably would have only been able to travel a third of that distance. There's another half a day before we enter the Sea Goddess Hall's territory. We'll be safe then and we won't have to worry about experts pursuing us, Nubis said as he hurried along. He constantly looked backward as a sliver of seriousness flashed through his eyes. Several saint rulers tailed the three of them closely. They were all of the 8th and 9th heavenly layer and belonged to different tribes. The three of them flew over many tribes recklessly, which was a type of straightforward provocation. As a result, it caused quite a few experts who were confident in their strengths to chase after them. They wanted an explanation from the trio and to make up for the challenge to their dignity. They paid no attention to the people who tailed them closely, as they just did not have the time to deal with them. Getting to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall as soon as possible was the most urgent matter. 3 vast presences quickly expanded from behind at this very moment. 3 elders shot toward the trio like bolts of lightning. The 3 disciplinary elders had almost caught up with Jianchen's group. None of them possessed the power to escape the pursuit of 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings. As a result, they were stopped very soon. All 3 disciplinary elders were rather old. They wore black robes and were stern. A vast presence coiled around them and even the surroundings trembled. They were extremely terrifying. The saint rulers from various tribes also drew closer. They all looked at the 3 old men and jumped in fright from their auras. They all knew that these 3 old men had reached a terrifying level of strength. However, their expressions changed when they saw the red, lock-like badge on their chests. They immediately bowed toward them and said, "We greet the disciplinary elders." The disciplinary elders stared fixedly at Jianchen and Nubis while a wondrous light flickered in their eyes. One of them waved a hand at the saint rulers who had chased the trio and said, "You have no business here. You can leave." "Yes, disciplinary elders." The saint rulers from the various tribes did not dare to disobey them. They bowed once again, before backing off to a distance. However, they did not leave and instead watched on from over 10 kilometers away. They wanted to see just what would happen here that required 3 disciplinary elders to move out together. The light in Jianchen's eyes flickered. Just from their presences, he already knew that the 3 disciplinary elders were not any weaker than Ling Yuanzi from the Yuan sect and Bai Fei who he had encountered outside. They were much more powerful than the two elders who had died to his forbidden arte. Looks like I can only cast it again. If I offer up 1,000 years of my life, it should be enough to slaughter the three of them, thought Jian Chen as a light in his eyes flickered. The only way he could flee successfully from here was by casting the arte, since matters had developed in such a way. He had killed two elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall before, so there was already enmity between him and the hall. It would be difficult to resolve this peacefully. However, the price of 1,000 years was just too great. It made Jian Chen hesitate. He had already coughed up 1,000 years of life the last two times he cast the arte. If he coughed up another 1,000 years, it would be 2,000 in total. He would be left with less than 1,000 years to live. Ruler's Qi. The two of them actually have ruler's Qi. The disciplinary elders constantly shifted their gazes between Jian Chen and newbies while their faces were filled with surprise. Were the two elders both killed by you people? An elder asked the three of them after a while. Correct. They were indeed killed by us. You must have come to avenge them. Jian Chen replied normally. He had already made the preparations to cast God's descent at any time. The three disciplinary elders shook their heads gently. One of them said, "We won't trouble you. The hall elders only want to see you, so please come with us. If you're willing to join us, I believe the hall elders won't dwell on you killing the two elders." The three disciplinary elders appeared before Jian Chen and the other two after that. They did not wait for their reply and moved against them straightforwardly. Matching one disciplinary elder to each person, they directly extended their hands out to grab them. A sliver of determination flashed through Jian Chen's eyes. He immediately formed a seal with his hands, raising his head high above. He was about to cast the forbidden arte. However, Jian Chen's eyes narrowed at this crucial moment. The corners of his lips curled into a slight sneer and he stopped his casting of the arte. Another 4 tremendous presences quickly expanded from the surroundings. With 4 loud whistles of wind, 4 figures approached the area with unbelievable speed. They were at the horizon, but in the next moment, they had already stopped before the 3 disciplinary elders. They maintained a distance of 20 meters. There were 2 middle-aged men and 2 old men. They all had vivid serpents embroidered on their blue robes. The serpent's eyes were red and it seemed viciously terrifying. It revealed its sharp teeth which shone with a cold light. It was enough to make people shiver. The appearance of these 4 caused the expressions of the 3 disciplinary elders to change suddenly. One of them immediately shouted out, "For divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, you're members of a different hall. You dare to trespass through the territory of our Heaven Spirit Hall?" The 3 disciplinary elders were clearly extremely fearful of the 4 divine generals. "Our hall elders have already told your Heaven Spirit Hall. We have come in pursuit of our enemies, so we can enter your territory," a divine general said with a normal tone. Afterward, he looked at the 3 people in the hands of the disciplinary elders and said, "They're the enemies. I hope the 3 of you can hand them over. Once we complete our mission, we will leave your territory immediately." "No. The 3 of them recently killed 2 elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They're criminals of the Heaven Spirit Hall. We have come under the Hall Elders' command to take them back so that the Hall Elders can punish them. We will never hand them over to you," a disciplinary elder growled back. He did not step down. "We will be taking the people." The 4 divine generals replied. A powerful aura began to radiate from the 4 of them, clearly expressing their will to fight. "We can only fight if that's the case." The 3 disciplinary elders refused to appear weak. Battle intent surged from them. They then threw Jian Chen, newbies, and Xia Wang to one side in unison. They all drew their weapons and started a battle with the 4 divine generals. The battle between 7 fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings was extremely impressive. As soon as they clashed, a terrifying residual energy exploded and wreaked havoc everywhere. It enveloped a radius of several dozen kilometers. Jian Chen, newbies, and Xia Wang were immediately affected by these wild ripples of energy. They were knocked far away, while the fragile-bodied Xia Wang immediately became rather pale. He had been injured by the residual ripples of energy. Although Jian Chen was weaker than Xia Wang, his body was much tougher. The powerful ripples from the battle struck his chest like huge boulders. However, all it did was shake him a little without much effect. On the other hand, Nubis was unharmed. As he was only an inch away from becoming a Saint King and his strength was close to that of a second heavenly layer Saint Kings, the residual energy from a battle between fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings failed to harm him. The various saint rulers that had followed Jian Chen's group here did not have it as easy as Jian Chen as they watched on from 10 kilometers away. A few ninth heavenly layer saint rulers backed away pale-faced, while the other 8th heavenly layer experts already had a trail of blood at the corner of their lips. Their injuries were even worse. The region where the disciplinary elders and divine generals fought became flooded with wild energy. The space there distorted violently, forming a blurry mess. It enveloped them. "What are you standing around for? Let's go." Nubis immediately shot off as he pulled Jian Chen and Xia Wang along. The battle between the Saint Kings was extremely fascinating, but they just did not have the liberty to admire it. "I really am unlucky this time. I'm done for. I've managed to offend both the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall at the same time. If the Sea Goddess Hall gets offended as well, there won't be anywhere left for me in the vast sea realm. Following you was definitely the most stupid choice I've ever made." Xia Wang swore angrily. He felt like he had been treated extremely unfairly. He was met with the pursuit of the Serpent God Hall as soon as he was enticed to follow Jian Chen for the divine water of the world. He managed to flee to the land of the Heaven Spirit Hall after so much difficulty, yet he was met with the pursuit of the Heaven Spirit Hall instead before he even had the moment to rest his feet. He even ended up provoking the 3 renowned disciplinary elders and the 4 famed divine generals. Just as they had fled 100 kilometers away, a divine general charged out of the region of battle and headed straight for them. "We can't let them be taken," yelled a disciplinary elder. He too abandoned his opponent and charged out of the battle, following the divine general. "I'm your opponent. Stay behind." The divine generals had an advantage in numbers. One of them immediately caught up with the disciplinary elder, sticking to him like a leech and keeping him busy. The disciplinary elder was currently busy with the divine general. He could not help but panic as he watched the divine general grow closer and closer to Jian Chen. He knew that once the 3 of them were taken away, they would not be able to complete their mission as they would be busy with the 3 other divine generals. A sliver of cold light flashed across the disciplinary elder's eyes as he thought up to there. He immediately cried out, "9 palms of overlapping waves." The 9 palms of the overlapping waves was a saint technique he had created himself. It was much more powerful than Heaven tier battle skills, reaching the level of pseudo-saint tier battle skills. The disciplinary elder struck out with 9 palm strikes. The 9 palms stacked on one another, becoming more powerful with each coming strike. The last palm strike was especially powerful, basically possessing the combined force of the 8 previous strikes. It had an even greater effect that increased its power even more. The divine general of the Serpent God Hall successfully received the first 5 strikes. From the 6th to the 8th strike, he began to pale as a streak of blood ran from the corner of his mouth. With the arrival of the 9th strike, he immediately became heavily injured, flying backward as he vomited blood. Chapter 891, A Chaotic Battle, 2. One of the disciplinary elders used his self-invented pseudo-Tian level saint technique to heavily injure one of the divine generals, before immediately flying onward in pursuit of the other divine general who charged at Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang. With a powerful enemy incoming, the divine general could not afford to pay attention to the trio. The veins on his arms bulged and ripped through his sleeves. They quickly turned into 2 thick claws that shone with a cold light. They were extremely tough. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall were originally serpent dragons. Their most powerful weapons were their rock-breaking claws. After his hands turned into the claws, he quickly swung them at the incoming disciplinary elder. The elder's weapon was a 5-meter-long spear. He stabbed out with lightning speed as an extremely powerful ripple of energy coiled around the spear. He became embroiled in an intense fight with the Divine General. At this moment, the Divine General who had been injured by the disciplinary elder's pseudo-Tian level saint technique flew over pale-faced. He stared icily at the disciplinary elder who was busy with his companion and said coldly, "Your pseudo-Tian level saint technique is still not the real deal in the end. If you had come up with a real Tian level saint technique, I would have been injured to the point where I would struggle to recover if I didn't die. A pity, such a pity. Mo Yen, keep him busy. I'll bring the 3 people over. Let me handle this person. You go get the 3 of them. This is the Heaven Spirit Hall's land, so we can't stick around for too long. It'll become troublesome when other experts rush over," the Divine General called Mo Yen replied gruffly. The other Divine General immediately flew toward Jian Chen and the other 2 as soon as he heard that without any hesitation. "This is the territory of our Heaven Spirit Hall. Don't you dare take them away." 9 palms of overlapping waves. The disciplinary elder cried out once again and cast the pseudo-Tian level saint technique once more. "Don't think you're the only one with pseudo-Tian level saint techniques. I know many too. They might not have been invented by me, but they're not any weaker than yours." Serpent Dragon's Rage. Mo Yen roared at the sky and tremendous quantities of energy immediately condensed into a storm which constantly coiled around him. In the end, it transformed into a huge jet-black serpent dragon that was hundreds of meters in length. The serpent dragon was completely condensed from energy. The terrifying power within it shook up the surroundings, causing the space to tremble and collapse. The energy was so great that it seemed to surpass the limits of space and tiny cracks to appear everywhere. This occurred in the sea realm where the space was tougher than outside. If an intense battle like this had occurred in the outside world, the space would have probably collapsed long ago. Roar. The serpent dragon roared furiously at the sky. Terrifying sound waves shook up the trio's eardrums to point where it hurt. Afterward, the serpent dragon transformed into a black streak of light that charged toward the disciplinary elder with an unstoppable force. It collided with the 9 palms of overlapping waves and produced a deafening boom. The terrifying ripples of residual energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings as if it was trying to completely destroy the area. The other 2 elders also reached a climax in the fight with the divine generals of the Serpent God Hall. They all struck out with their full strength, creating great booms every time they clashed. The battle was grand and earth-shaking. The 3 disciplinary elders were trapped well and truly by the 3 divine generals. They were too busy for Jian Chen's group and were only able to watch helplessly as a divine general drew closer to them. "We need to split up," yelled Jian Chen. Afterward, they immediately scattered off in different directions. However, the disparity between their strength and the divine generals was just too great. Despite his injuries, he was still extremely powerful, catching all 3 of them in just a short while. "It's wishful thinking for you to want to escape from us for divine generals with your puny strength. I might as well beat you till you're heavily injured since you want to flee that much. Let's see if you still have the power to run then," sneered the divine general as he grabbed the 3 of them. Afterward, he struck out with his palm thrice, hitting each of them and directly injecting the terrifying energy into them. It obliterated their organs. Spurt. 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 All 3 of them sprayed out a mouthful of bloody mist each as their organs were destroyed. They immediately became extremely pale and greatly injured. A strike from a 5th heavenly layer was too much to withstand for both Nubi's body as a beast of antiquity and Jian Chen's chaotic body. They were all injured as they could not resist. All of their clothes had turned to dust, with only Jian Chen's golden silk mail in a whole piece. It had dulled instead. What's this piece of clothing? It didn't break after taking a palm strike of mine. It must be some treasure. The divine general was attracted to the golden silk mail on Jian Chen. Interest appeared in his eyes, before he directly ripped it off Jian Chen's body. With the silk mail taken, Jian Chen's heart sunk abruptly. Although he was heavily injured, his eyes formed an extremely severe glare. He stared fixedly at the divine general and gnashed his teeth. "You will definitely regret it if you take that item away." The divine general's eyes became cold. He sneered, "Regret? Right, you have the ruler's chi. You'll definitely be able to reach the peak of the 16th star and exceed me greatly. You do indeed have the right to make me regret things. However, do you think you'll live until then? Once we return to the Serpent God Hall, it'll be your deaths." The divine general did not continue to ramble after that. He locked up the three of them using his spatial force, before flying toward the territory of the Serpent God Hall with them. Now we're screwed. I should never have followed these guys. Now I can't even enjoy my last 100 years of life, thought Xia Wang as he regretted inside. His face was ashen, and he was already certain that he would die. Suddenly, a streak of blue light shot over from afar with lightning speed. It traveled directly for Jian Chen and Nubis, but no one could see exactly what it was. The divine general's face became cold. He directly hurled a fist at the streak of blue light. The ball of blue light avoided the divine general's fist nimbly and arrived beside Jian Chen and Nubis. It constantly flew around them as it produced happy bird cries. Only then did they discover that the ball of blue light was actually a fist-sized bird. The divine general's expression could not help but change when he noticed the blue bird. He cried out involuntarily, "An abyssal bird!" For vast presences suddenly appeared at that moment. For experts who were not any weaker than the four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall directly made their way toward them. These four traveled extremely fast, traversing several dozen kilometers in a mere second to arrive before Jian Chen's group. The divine general immediately revealed an ugly expression as the four people appeared. He snarled, "Qi Nishuan, O Yun, Mo Iran of the 8 great human experts and Lei Badian of the 5 great magical beast experts. Why have you come?" Their sudden appearances caused a slight change to the situation at hand. The 3 divine generals and the 3 disciplinary elders immediately stopped fighting. The experts of the 3 halls stood in a triangle, while Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang lay in the center. They all watched the abyssal bird constantly fly about Jian Chen and Nubis, each and every one of them shocked. That's an abyssal bird that lives in the Sea of Despair. It's known to be the natural enemy of the sea race, so why is it being so close with the 2 of them? Similar thoughts appeared in the heads of everyone present in that moment. They were filled with suspicion and curiosity as to why the bird was acting so close with Jian Chen and Nubis. The abyssal bird constantly flew around the 2 of them as a blue streak of light. It produced cheerful cries, before landing on Nubis and Jian Chen's shoulder, constantly hopping around. At the same time, the water spirit's peals that changed their presences trembled gently. A faint presence leaked out from it. Has the water spirit's pearl within us attracted the abyssal bird? Similar thoughts appeared in both Jian Chen and Nubis' heads at this moment. Lei Badian stared fixedly at the bird. He sent a mental message to Qi Nishuan, Mo Ziran, and O Yun. The hall master said the abyssal bird can find the target. Looks like they're the 2 people the hall master wants us to bring back safely. Qi Nishuan, Mo Ziran, and O Yun shifted their gazes from the bird at the same time with that and looked at the 3 of them. However, when Qi Nishuan saw Jian Chen and Nubis, she first became stunned, before recognizing them. She immediately fell into a rage. She stared viciously at Jian Chen as flames of anger burned in her eyes. She cried out, "It's actually you 2 bastards. I have to kill the 2 of you." A sword immediately appeared in her hand. Qi Nishuan had become engulfed by anger, forgetting about the hall master's mission and the current situation. She lifted her sword as she advanced toward Jian Chen and Nubis for revenge. "Qi Nishuan, what are you doing? Stop." Lei Badian immediately stopped Qi Nishuan. The Hall Master had personally ordered them to bring back the people that the abyssal bird acted close with. How could he watch Qin Yishuan kill them off? Lei Batian, it's the two of them. They're the brats who used underhanded methods to steal the Octaterra map fragment from me. Let go of me. Qin Yishuan's face was icy cold. Her eyes were filled with coldness and endless killing intent. Having her undergarments stolen was equivalent to an invasion of her holy land. This was an inerasable shame to her. Only by killing the two of them could she dissolve this hatred. Whether it was the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall or the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, all of their gazes toward the two of them underwent some minute changes when they heard that they had actually stolen the Octaterra map fragment from the famed Qin Yishuan. Just the courage to steal something from the 5th heavenly layer Saint King Qin Yishuan as saint rulers was already exceedingly admirable, and they had even succeeded in it. It made it seem even more unbelievable. Chapter 892. The Saint Artifact exposed. Jian Chen and Nubis were both pale-faced as a trail of blood ran from the corner of their mouths. They looked at each other with extremely weird expressions. Neither of them thought they would meet Qin Yishuan again at this exact moment. However, Jian Chen soon smiled bitterly. He still remembers exactly how he stole the Octaterra map fragment from her. As it was a tight situation, Jian Chen did not put much consideration into it as he hurried away. Not only did he steal the map fragment, he even stole her undergarment. The undergarment was still in his space ring. Xia Wang completely shut up when he heard that the two of them had offended Qin Yishuan of the 8 great human experts as well. He was completely defeated by Jian Chen and Nubi's foolhardiness. The two of them really did not fear death. Not only were they willing to kill people of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall, they had even stolen things from one of the 8 famed human experts. They sure were reckless. Xia Wang always moved alone. He feared nothing, rampaging through the sea realm with his supreme strength and his strange abilities. However, only now did Xia Wang realize in sorrow that he was nothing compared to Jian Chen and Nubis. At least he would avoid causing any offense to the halls, and at least he would not steal from the 8 great human experts. I may be quite smart most of the time, but I really do screw up really bad when I do. Why couldn't I just resist the enticement of the divine water back then and not follow them? Now I'm done for. Let alone getting the divine water in 50 years, I'm not even sure if I can live through this current moment, thought Xia Wang as he constantly grumbled inside. Lei Batian, O Yun, and Mo Ziren stared at the two of them in doubt. Mo Ziren said with suspicion, Qin Yishuan, didn't you say that the juniors that stole the Octaterra map fragment were a human and a magical beast? They have the sea race's presence. Have you misidentified them? Yeah, Qin Yishuan, they're clearly members of the sea race. Surely you've recognized the wrong people, Lei Batian also said with suspicion. Qin Yishuan observed the two of them carefully once more and indeed discovered that their presences were vastly different despite their appearances being extremely similar. A person could change his appearance at will, but it was extremely difficult to change their presence, let alone transforming it into a member of the sea race from a human or magical beast. Qin Yishuan finally calmed down from her rage when she noticed that. The light in her eyes flickered as she observed the two of them fixedly. A sliver of doubt appeared on her face as she thought, have I really misidentified them? The two detestable brats who stole the map fragment must be someone else, but why do they look so similar? Lei Batian glanced at the uneasy Qin Yishuan and sent a mental message. Qin Yishuan, don't forget about what the Hall Master has tasked us with. I don't care who took the map fragment, but they're the two people who the Hall Master wanted us to find. We need to bring them back safely no matter what. Qin Yishuan nodded and said nothing. However, she always glanced toward the two of them, intentionally or otherwise. Their presences were different, but she felt like the two of them were indeed the two brats who had initially stolen the map fragment from her. It was just the transformation in their presences that made her unsure. She was afraid that she had misidentified them. Lei Batian, Qin Yishuan, Mo Ziren, O Yun, Have the four of you also come for these three? Asked a disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Lei Badian crossed his arms and said boldly, Yep, we have indeed come for them. I believe you've already guessed that when you saw the abyssal bird. They're the people the Hall Master wants. We've come under her order for them. The Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall? Do they possess the same intentions as the other two halls in looking for us? Jianshan thought quickly when he heard what Lei Badian had said and began to analyze. That doesn't seem right. The abyssal bird seems to be connected to the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall, yet the reason why the abyssal bird can find us is because of the water spirit's pearls. The pearls were from that mysterious, unknown woman from before, and she had also said that if we can't stay in the territory of the Serpent God Hall, we could go to the Sea Goddess Hall. She said we would be safe there. Is that mysterious woman related to the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall? Or is she the Hall Master? If that's really the case, it'll explain her great strength. The three Hall Masters are all Saint Emperors. Only they can repel the experts of the Beast God continent. Jianshen, do you think that lady who gave us the pearls from before is the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall? Nubis asked Jianshen through a mental message. He clearly thought in a similar way. Jianshen remained silent. He did not reply because he was unsure. What Lei Badian had said caused the four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders' expressions to change slightly. I never thought they'd draw the attention of the esteemed Sea Goddess Hall Master as well. What a surprise. However, they're enemies of the Serpent God Hall, so we need to take them away, said a divine general. Even when Lei Badian mentioned the Hall Master, he did not show any signs of backing away. His Serpent God Hall was not any weaker than the Sea Goddess Hall. Humph, and there is my Heaven Spirit Hall as well. They killed two of our elders, so we need to take them away. The Hall elders need to deal with them, growled a disciplinary elder. Mo Ziran began to laugh. Since all of us want to take them away and that none of us will back off, why don't we ask them for their opinion? We'll let them make the choice of who to leave with. No. Don't you dare. The experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall rejected Mo Ziran's suggestion without any extra thought. They knew that animosity was already present between their group and the trio, so they definitely would not choose to go with either one of them. Since everyone disagrees with my suggestion, do you have other good ideas to resolve this matter? Mo Ziran continued. All the disciplinary elders and divine generals remained silent. Now that all three forces had gathered, there was no other way of resolving it than through strength. However, it would still be very hard with their current standoff, as they would have to fight for several days and nights without a potential outcome. This was because they needed to devote some attention to the third party while they fought, so they could not use their full strength. At that moment, Lei Badian appeared before the three of them with a flash. He encased them with an invisible force with a wave of his hand, before shooting off in the direction he had come in with lightning speed. He's fled with them. Pursue. Lei Badian, don't you dare take them away. The four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders all became furious and chased after Lei Badian at the same time. Qi Nishuan, Mo Ziran, and O Yun struck out in unison. They used all they had, keeping the four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders busy. However, as they all possessed the same cultivation levels and similar strengths, the three human experts were unable to keep all seven of them busy due to the huge disparity in numbers. For immediately shot past them and headed toward Lei Badian. Lei Badian flew toward the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall at full speed with the trio. Since he needed to carry them, his speed was slower than the people behind. As a result, they managed to grow closer and closer. Lei Badian knew that he would be caught up by the four of them sooner or later if it continued like this. He gritted his teeth and said to the trio, I need to block them, so I can't flee with you. Just keep flying in this direction and you'll be able to reach the Sea Goddess Hall. Once you're there, you'll be safe. With that, he poured all his strength into his hands and tossed them far away. Afterward, he turned to the four experts with a huge hammer in his hand, facing off against them in a battle. Qi Nishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun also abandoned their opponents and flew over. They worked with Lei Batian, fighting off the 7 people with the 4 of them as they retreated. Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang did not stop at all. After being thrown away by Lei Batian, they immediately regained their bearings and flew toward the Sea Goddess Hall's territory. They covered several tens of thousands of kilometers in a few seconds. "We can't let them escape," called out the disciplinary elders and the divine generals. In that moment, they were actually working together, first knocking away Lei Batian and the other 3 before sending their powerful attacks in unison at the trio that neared the horizon. 4 serpent dragons and 3 savage beasts shot through the sky, flying toward the 3 with extreme speed. They completely locked onto the trio's presence, so that they could not shake them off no matter how much they changed their direction. "It'll be problematic now." Lei Batian revealed an ugly expression. The powerful strikes from the 7 of them shot off exceedingly fast, surpassing the speed at which they could travel at completely. They did not have the power to block it even if they wanted to. The 3 of them could not help but reveal ugly expressions when they realized that the 7 savage beasts completely condensed from energy were behind them. Even Jian Chen did not have the confidence that he could take on the powerful attacks from 7 fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings and survive. "We can't take the attacks head on or we'll be almost gone even if we don't die. We'll be incapacitated and lose our ability to flee," Jian Chen thought quickly. Shortly afterward, he gritted his teeth and a golden streak of light immediately shot out from between his eyebrows. He had used the Saint artifact. Jian Chen no longer had the liberty to keep the Saint artifact hidden at this moment in time. 7 attacks from 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings were incomparable to 2 3rd layer Saint Kings. Jian Chen would still be able to risk taking them head on if they were the latter, but Jian Chen dared not to try it with the attacks from the former. "Don't resist." Jian Chen hurriedly sent Xia Wang a mental message. Afterward, the 3 of them disappeared with a flash of light. They had been sucked into the Saint artifact. Just when they had disappeared, the 7 attacks had arrived. They struck the Saint artifact forcefully, producing a deafening boom. Although the Saint artifact possessed no offensive powers, its defenses could not be underestimated as a result. Other than Saint Emperors, no one could cause it any harm. Not only did the 7 attacks fail to harm the 3 of them after the Saint artifact received it, they borrowed the artifact to fly off with an even greater speed. "What treasure is that? Not only can it store living people, it can even withstand the attacks from the 7 of us and come out fine," cried out a disciplinary elder as he watched the golden Saint artifact. His eyes lit up. Even the 4 divine generals and Lei Batian's group revealed similar expressions. This was a rare and unique treasure in the world since it was able to store people inside as well as take on the attacks from 7 fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings and come out unscathed. Chapter 893, Hall Elder to the Rescue. The Saint artifact shone with a faint golden light as it borrowed the force of the 7 attacks to propel itself. It was extremely fast, disappearing off into the distance in the blink of an eye. "Chase it." The 4 divine generals and the 3 disciplinary elders all began to pursue it. Although it had disappeared from their range of vision, they were still able to find its trace through its presence. However, an additional thought appeared in the heads of all 7 of them. Other than wanting to take Jian Chen back, they also coveted the Saint artifact. A treasure that could remain unscathed after their 7 attacks, as well as store people inside it. This was enough to even entice experts of their level. "Stop them!" Lei Batian yelled. Together with Qi Nishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun, they devoted all their strength into stopping the 7 of them. However, they would also look toward the direction in which the artifact had flown off from the corner of their eyes from time to time, as a light in their eyes danced. Even the 4 of them felt slightly tempted by such a wondrous treasure. However, they did not forget about their mission and did not forget that they had been personally ordered by the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall to bring them back safely. The Saint artifact traveled several hundred kilometers before finally running out of force. It also began to slow down, which was followed up by a flash of light. The three of them appeared out of nowhere, and the saint artifact turned into a streak of golden light before disappearing into the center of Jian Chen's eyebrows. The saint artifact is not as fast as us. We can't stay in there forever, as it'll be troublesome if the people of the Serpent God Hall or the Heaven Spirit Hall catch it and take it back to their respective halls, growled Jian Chen. The hall masters of both halls were saint emperors, so they possessed the strength to break the artifact. Looks like the Sea Goddess Hall sent the four of them for us. Fortunately, you haven't offended them as well, or there'll be no more places in the vast realm of the sea for me. We better leave fast and get to the Sea Goddess Hall's territory as soon as possible, Xia Wang said grimly. There was a slight worry in his voice as he found it extremely difficult to remain calm with the pursuit of 7th Heavenly Layer Saint Kings. The trio immediately pushed their speeds to the limit. They were only 100,000 kilometers away from the border now. Very quickly, three vast presences appeared from behind. 3 of the 7 had managed to break free of Lei Baishan's group and were currently flying at great speeds toward the 3 of them. Lei Batian and the other 3 tailed closely behind, wanting to stop the 3 of them. Behind them were another 4 experts, who wanted to stop Lei Baishan's group in return. They wanted to let the 3 people ahead to stop Jian Chen's group. As they hurried the chase, they quickly drew closer to Jian Chen's trio. As the 11 vast presences flew over countless tribes and clans recklessly, it alarmed many people of the sea race, creating a huge disturbance. A great battle between 11 16th star experts was extremely rare in this world. It was uncommon even over the span of thousands of years. This would definitely resound through the entire sea realm. In that moment, there were several saint rulers who tailed behind the 11 experts of the 3 halls, as well as an extremely low number of saint kings. They had come to watch the show. None of them interfered with it. Jian Chen, Nubi's, and Xia Wang's hearts began to thump heavily once again when they saw the 3 saint kings were catching up from behind them. The saint kings were faster, so the 3 of them were probably going to be caught up by the saint kings before they could even flee to the Sea Goddess Hall's territory if this continued. A sliver of determination flashed through Nubi's eyes. He gritted his teeth. I'll burn my vital essence to flee with the 2 of you. With that, golden flames immediately covered Nubi's. These flames did not have any heat, but they were extremely dazzling in the blue sea realm, like a sun that radiated brightly. Nubi's paid the price of his vital essence for supreme speed. Together with Jian Chen and Nubi's, they turned into a golden comet that shot off into the distance. Nubi's did not want to do this, but he did not have the choice now that the situation was like this. The golden flames surged around Nubi's body as his vital essence was rapidly consumed. His flesh began to wither at a visible rate as his body shrunk. Nubi's presence became weaker and weaker as his vital essence was consumed. His strength was waning, but his speed had increased to a terrifying level in return. He was already as fast as a 4th heavenly layer Saint King. Even though he had burned his vital essence, Nubi's was still not as fast as the people who followed behind them. However, it at least gave them some room to flee, preventing them from catching up temporarily. God damn it, how did he increase his speed so much? The expressions of the 3 people behind them all changed. There were only 30 kilometers before they reached the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Go, go, go. We're almost there. We'll be safe once we get there. The 3 of them also experienced a wave of anxiety. They stared back fixedly at the 3 Saint Kings were only a little more than 30 kilometers away. The 3 Saint Kings no longer dared to send long-range attacks at them as they were worried over the fact that it might help them instead of injuring them. This lasted for around 20 minutes. The trio arrived at the border between the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Sea Goddess Hall finally. The 3 Saint Kings were only 10 kilometers away from them just as they were about to leave. We can't let them cross over. Freeze the space, cried out a divine general. In that moment, the 3 people who belonged to different organizations worked together with tacit teamwork. They froze the space together. Immediately, the surroundings of the trio began to quickly freeze. They wanted to trap the three of them and stop them from running. However, it was not easy to freeze space from 10 meters away even though they were Saint Kings. They needed a moment of time to complete it. The frozen space quickly spread forward, chasing up to the three of them without much time. "Newbies, fly a little faster," Jian Chen cried out hurriedly. They were extremely close to the border. "Shit, the frozen space is almost caught up with us. Go faster." Xia Wang was also frantic, crying out anxiously. Newbies clenched his teeth and yelled. The golden flames around him became even brighter as they shot forward with an even speed greater than before. In the end, they successfully crossed the border before the frozen space had reached them, entering the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. However, before they could celebrate, the frozen space quickly crossed the border as well. It directly enveloped the three of them and bound them tightly. Their hearts immediately sank and their faces became extremely ugly. If the people of the two halls ignored the agreement and trespassed into the Sea Goddess Hall's land, they would be done for. Disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall, divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, you are people of the halls. Are you trying to ignore the agreement between us three halls and want to move against people in the land of the Sea Goddess Hall? Lei Baishan's heavy voice resounded from behind. His voice was furious. The three Saint Kings that trapped Jian Chen's group ignored Lei Baishan's words. They crossed the border in unison, each grabbing at one of them in an attempt to pull them out from the Sea Goddess Hall's land. "We're done for," thought Xia Wang as he sighed secretly. The flames of hope in his heart were immediately extinguished and even Newbies and Jian Chen's faces sank. They put in so much effort and finally managed to escape into the Sea Goddess Hall's land from the seven Saint Kings, but never did they think it was still not enough for them to avoid the outcome of being caught. The three experts each grabbed one of their shoulders. Just as they were about to drag them back across the border, their expressions changed. They became filled with shock. They had suddenly discovered that they had actually been silently trapped by a mysterious force and could not move at all. The three of them were fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings. Even among the entire sea realm, they were some of the few experts that stood on the very top. Yet, someone had managed to immobilize the three of them without them noticing. Just how powerful was this person? They were astounded. This is an ability of the Imperial clan. It's the immobilization technique that was made for controlling people, cried out one of the divine generals. His face had already drained of blood. Crap, there is someone from the Imperial clan helping out from the shadows. We're stuck. One of the disciplinary elders realized this very quickly, immediately crying out as well to alert his companions. Lei Tianba, Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun had all crossed the border as well, returning to the land of the Sea Goddess Hall. Meanwhile, the four experts from the other two halls stopped at the border of the Heaven Spirit Hall. They looked at the three trapped Saint Kings uneasily, unwilling to move forward to help out at all. Your Serpent God Hall and Heaven Spirit Hall sure are brave to trespass the land of the Sea Goddess Hall. A gentle, lively voice lingered in the air. A blue-dressed woman who possessed a great beauty had appeared out of nowhere. The woman had extremely delicate features, while her blue hair ran down her shoulders like a waterfall. She carried a meter-long blue staff, floating 100 meters in the air with her feet bare. She did not have any aura, but she seemed like a part of the surroundings. The seven Saint Kings from the two halls all became stunned when they saw her. Their faces drained of blood, while Lei Batian and the other three rejoiced. They clasped their hands toward the woman together and said, "We greet the hall elder." Chapter 894, Sculpture of the Sea Goddess, a Hall Elder. Jian Chen, Newbies, and Xia Wang were all shocked. They raised their heads to look at the woman as unconcealable amazement flooded their faces. The Hall Elder before them was just too young and too pretty. The number of people who could rival her beauty even on the Tianyuan continent could be counted on a single hand. The number one Hall Elder of the Sea Goddess Hall, Atlantis, who was only second to the Hall Master. The 4 experts in the Heaven's Spirit Hall's land all cried out as they stared at her in shock. Atlantis, it's actually Atlantis. Doesn't she never leave the hall? Why has she come out personally today? The 3 trapped Saint Kings were all pale-faced and not even a shred of blood remained in their faces. Atlantis' name was like thunder to the 16th star elders. She was undoubtedly the 4th strongest among the sea realm, having reached the peak of the 16th star years ago. She was extremely powerful, invincible among her level of cultivation. Only the 3 hall masters could defeat her. In other words, without the slightest exaggeration, Atlantis was the strongest within the sea realm outside of the 3 hall masters. We're done. We're completely done. I never thought Atlantis would come here. Even if the 7 of us work together, we're doomed. The 3 trapped experts became dejected and lost all thought of resistance. They had trespassed another hall's territory without permission. They were bound to receive an extremely harsh punishment. Even though it was unlikely to threaten their lives, as 16th star experts, they would actually have to be punished. This was an extremely disgraceful matter. They would no longer have the dignity to see anyone once they returned. In the blink of an eye, the situation changed with Atlantis' appearance. Not only did she deter the 7 experts, she became the greatest safeguard for Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang's safety. Atlantis swept her gaze past the 3 of them coldly. However, she paused slightly when she saw Jian Chen and Nubis, while a sliver of surprise flashed through her remorseless eyes. She then asked Lei Baishan's group. Are they the people that the hall master wants? Yes, hall elder. They are the people that she wants. This has also been confirmed by the abyssal bird, so it's impossible for there to be any mistakes, Lei Batian replied softly. The hall master wants to see them immediately. You 4 will deliver them to the hall, Atlantis spoke as usual without any emotion in her voice. As soon as she finished speaking, the invisible force around Jian Chen and the other 2 disappeared. They had been freed. Yes, hall elder, Lei Batian replied politely. Afterward, he waved his hand and an invisible energy immediately surrounded the 3 of them. Wait! Jian Chen said suddenly. It caused Lei Batian to pause out of instinct. After that, he immediately looked toward Jian Chen in doubt. Jian Chen glared toward one of the divine generals of the Heaven Spirit Hall and growled, Sir, are you able to return to me the item you stole? This divine general had taken Jian Chen's golden silk mail and put it away in his space ring. His expression immediately twitched when he heard this. He looked at the emotionless Atlantis in the sky. Fear appeared in the depths of his eyes. However, he realized very quickly that he had not crossed over the border. Atlantis could not do anything to him even though she was very powerful. All the fear disappeared from him immediately as he thought up to there and he sneered, this mail sure is outstanding to be able to remain unscathed after taking an attack of mine. But if you want it back, you better exchange it for the item you took from us. Otherwise, don't even think about that. Throwing that down, he glanced at his companion before leaving. They flew back toward the territory of the Serpent God Hall. The 2 of them paid no further attention to their other 2 companions trapped by Atlantis, as they already knew what their outcome would be like. Staying behind would not be of any help. Instead, it was extremely likely that they would be stopped by the other experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall currently hurrying over and end up just like the 2 of them. They would be more in for a loss than anything positive at that time. Jian Chen clenched his fists tightly as he watched the 2 divine generals fly off. A frigid light flickered in his eyes as he growled, One day, I will make you regret what you have done today. The golden silk mail was made from the silk of a primordial god silkworm that the world had given birth to. It was an extremely rare material. Jian Chen had learned of its value from the sword spirits. It was a supreme treasure for defense. However, the silk mail could only block attacks from saint rulers for some reason. Jian Chen clearly knew the reason for this. It was because the silk mail still had an endless, untapped potential within it. Its true powers were not just that. Let's go, Lei Badian called to them. Afterward, he left with the three of them, heading directly for the Sea Goddess Hall. Atlantis glanced coldly past the three trapped experts after Jian Chen's group had left. She said emotionlessly, "You three come with me to the Sea Goddess Hall. The Hall Master will deal with you." She gently waved her staff, which immediately encased them in a ring of blue light. It sealed their strength, before turning into pieces of blue rope that was connected to her hand. Atlantis held on to the 3 pieces of rope as she led the 3 of them toward the hall. They were met with the curious gazes of many experts along the way who all pointed and discussed about them. In that moment, the 3 Saint Kings trapped by her were even willing to die. They were supreme 16th star experts, yet they were currently in such a miserable circumstance. Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang flew with Lei Badian, traveling at an extremely fast speed. Qi Nixuan, Mo Ziran, and O Yun flew beside them as escorts. Nubis was pale and haggard. He was extremely weak right now. He had ignited his vital essence earlier to boost his speed beyond his limit, which caused him a great loss. His strength had decreased by quite the amount, falling back to the 9th heavenly layer from an inch away from Saint King. We're finally saved. This matter will be the proudest thing in my entire life. I actually survived the pursuit of 7 16th star experts and escaped successfully. Xia Wang's heart was filled with excitement. He felt like he was in a dream when he thought about what he had experienced a few days ago as he fled. That was how thrilling it was. Never did he even consider that mere saint rulers would be able to escape the pursuit of several elders from 2 halls successfully. Looks like sticking with them was the right decision for me. I heard from those elders that they seem to be the rulers of some tribe. They're noble, so they shouldn't be tricking me. I'll definitely be getting my divine water within 50 years, Xia Wang thought secretly. His flames of hope were reignited once more, no longer as despaired as before. Jian Chen looked toward Nubis in concern and said, "Nubis, do you want to recover in the artifact space?" Nubis nodded as he replied, "I might as well. I've consumed some of my vital essence, so I need to replenish it as soon as possible or it'll leave behind long-term effects, which will affect me greatly in the future." Without any hesitation, the saint artifact was summoned by Jian Chen with a thought. It immediately shot out from the center of the Jian Chen's eyebrows as a streak of golden light, landing directly in his palm. Afterward, it sucked Nubis away. The saint artifact had been exposed already when they were fleeing, so there was no longer the need to keep it hidden anymore. The saint artifact's appearance immediately attracted the attention of the 4 Saint Kings. They stared at the tiny golden tower curiously and could not help but ask, "Brother, just what is that?" "It can store living people." Unbelievable. This was something Junior obtained accidentally. Junior only knows of its abilities but not its origins or name. Jian Chen made up a casual lie. He did not dare mention its true origins. In the sea realm, there were no radiant saint masters, so they all used different types of medicines or methods of healing to recover from injuries. They were all very slow, so if they learned of the artifact's real origin, it might cause a huge commotion in the entire realm. The saint artifact shot back toward his forehead and disappeared. The wondrous scene immediately caused the 4 of them to stare with wide eyes as disbelief flooded their faces. "Brother, can you even store that object in your head?" O Yun said in amazement. This had completely overturned everything he knew. Jian Chen nodded but did not give any further details. "What a wondrous treasure," said Mo Ziran with a sigh. However, none of them noticed that Qi Nixuan had now become uneasy. The light in her eyes flickered as she thought of something. After half a day of flight, they finally arrived at the Sea Goddess Hall with Jian Chen. The Sea Goddess Hall was in the center of the territory. It was a humongous floating palace which radiated a certain pressure. At the very top stood a huge, 300-meter-tall stone sculpture. It stood like a consecrated divine spirit. It was a sculpture of a woman with a blurry appearance. It was sculpted in a way where it seemed realistic. The top half of her was human, while the bottom half of her was like a fish. She was a weird combination of a fish and a human. Jianchen felt deluded the moment he saw this sculpture. He felt like he had seen a world, not a sculpture. Jianchen understood that the woman must have reached an extremely high level of cultivation when she was still alive, or she would not have been able to give off such a feeling. The sculpted person is the great sea goddess of the sea race. In so many years, she's the only member of the sea race who managed to surpass Saint Emperor. She's someone who stood beside the number one human expert, Mo Tianyun, the winged tiger god and the war god of the 100 races in the ancient times. Lei Batian explained. Sea goddess, murmured Jianchen. He felt a familiar feeling from the sculpture. The hall master wants to meet you. Come with me. Chapter 895. A startling secret. Lei Batian flew with Jianchen and Xia Wang as he carried a medallion in his hand, directly entering the floating palace. The palace was extremely large. It had thousands of pavilions and buildings, while various exotic species of flowers and herbs grew in the surroundings. They exuded a fragrance that permeated the entire place. A single whiff could refresh the minds and souls of people, allowing them to concentrate and focus. Jianchen and Xia Wang traveled through the various halls with Lei Batian, Qing Yishuan, O Yun, and Mo Ziren accompanying them. They directly went into the very depths of the palace, coming across squadrons of guards in similar uniforms that patrolled the hallways. Jianchen could even feel the existence of many experts in the surroundings. Saint rulers were everywhere, and there were even quite a few saint kings. They were all cultivating in their personal halls. Jianchen constantly paid attention to the blue and green marble floor as he walked and would look around at the surrounding structures from time to time as well. Deep shock could be seen in his eyes. Just through his powerful presence, he could clearly feel a terrifyingly powerful energy hidden within the structures and the floor everywhere. This powerful energy constantly refined every inch of the place, causing all the structures to be extraordinarily tough after countless years. It was likely that even if Jianchen used all his strength, he would only be able to leave a small mark. At this moment, a wrinkly old man walked over from up ahead. Lei Batian and the other three all clasped their hands hurriedly to greet him as they saw the old man. We greet the hall elder. The old man glanced past Jianchen and Xia Wang, before he asked Lei Batian, are those the people the hall master wanted you to bring back safely? Correct. They are the people who the hall master is looking for, replied Lei Batian. He would glance toward the two of them from time to time, curious about why the hall master treated them with so much importance. The old man stared at the two of them in interest and asked, who is Jianchen? Esteemed hall elder, I am Jianchen. Jianchen clasped his hands at the old man after taking a step forward. Jianchen was extremely polite. If the old man before him was placed on the Tianyuan continent, he would be a terrifying expert. He would be one of the very few who stood at the very top, even on the continent. The old man's eyes shone like torches as he looked up and down to examine Jianchen. He murmured to himself secretly, isn't he just a ruler that hasn't fully matured? Why does the hall master care for him so much? Not only did she send the 4 16th star experts to personally save you from the Heaven Spirit Hall, even Atlantis, who hasn't left the hall since ages ago, went to the border personally because of your arrival. I really wonder why the hall master is spending so much time and energy over the two of you. Come in with me, Jianchen. The hall master wants to see you personally, the old man said to Jianchen indifferently. Afterward, he turned around and left. With his lofty status, he would not be inclined to waste his words on two puny saint rulers. Jianchen, you better go in with the hall elder. Remember, the hall master is a saint emperor. You need to be respectful when you see her. Lei Batian sent a mental message to Jianchen. Jianchen nodded slightly before following the hall elder silently. The only people left were Xia Wang and Lei Batian's group, who stood there blankly as they watched Jianchen grow further away. Jianshan followed the hall elder and reached the very depths of the hall without any obstructions. Afterward, they entered a beautifully decorated hall. There were 2 saint rulers who stood dead straight on the 2 sides of the entrance as guards. They were like sculptures. They're actually using saint rulers as door guards. What extravagancy! Jianshan was secretly astonished. Outside, all of these people were supreme experts that could lord over a small region. The huge hall was rather empty. There was only an elegant woman on the throne up ahead. The hall elder bowed courteously toward the woman and reported, "Jianshan has arrived. Elder Hong, you can go." The woman's voice was very soft, making it extremely pleasant to hear. Yes, the hall elder slowly backed away. Is this the hall master of the Sea Goddess Hall, one of the 3 supreme saint emperors of the sea realm? Jianshan gazed at the woman in interest. The lady wore azure clothes that wrapped around her slender figure, while her blue hair ran down her shoulders very casually without any specific grooming. Her face was blurry and obscure. It seemed like it had been covered up by a layer of mist. Even though he currently faced a saint emperor, Jianshan felt no particular presence from her. She seemed just like an ordinary person. Junior Jianshan greets the esteemed hall master. Jianshan clasped his hands toward the lady as he quickly dismissed his thoughts. Boom! With a muffled sound from behind, the doors to the hall had been closed. It cut off all presences and objects from the outside. There were only Jianshan and the hall master in the large hall now. The hall master stood up from her throne and slowly walked toward Jianshan with gentle steps. A faint, enchanting fragrance entered Jianshan's nose. Jianshan struggled to keep calm as he was so close to a saint emperor. His heart began to beat rapidly, clearly rather anxious. "You're the person chosen by Her Majesty," the hall master said with a soft, lively voice. She seemed to be talking to Jianshan but murmuring to herself at the same time. "I can't actually sense the presence of the abyssal crystal from your space ring. Where did you put it?" The hall master continued before Jianshan even had the chance to reply. "The abyssal crystal?" Jianshan was stunned, but he reached an understanding very quickly. He asked, "Is the hall master referring to the key that glows with a blue light?" "Correct." The hall master walked around Jianshan, constantly examining him. She murmured in her heart, "Is this the person chosen by Her Majesty? Does he really have the power to enter there?" Junior has a doubt. "Just what is this abyssal crystal? I wonder if the hall master can help answer this question," Jianshan asked. This mysterious key was actually enough to cause the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall to fight over it, which made him feel extremely curious about the origins and uses of the key. Her Majesty reached the end of her life and locked herself in her Supreme Divine Hall. Afterward, she moved the Divine Hall into the depths of the Sea of Despair, where it currently floats about. No one is able to find its whereabouts. However, the key is able to lead people to it. As long as someone possesses the key, they'll be able to find the Divine Hall. The hall master hid nothing and told Jianshan the truth. Is that so? No wonder the Serpent God Hall and Heaven's Spirit Hall were fighting over this. So they wanted to enter the Divine Hall and inherit the Sea Goddess legacy, Jianshan murmured as he understood some things. No, they don't want Her Majesty's legacy when they enter the Divine Hall. Her Majesty may have reached the end of her life, but all she lost was her body. Her soul remains, which has always stayed within the Divine Hall. The Heaven Spirit Hall and Serpent God Hall were fighting over the key as they wanted to go in there and take Her Majesty's spirit. They want to devour it and reach her level of cultivation from all those years ago. The hall master revealed a shocking truth and stunned Jianshan. What? The 2 halls want to devour the sea goddess soul? Jianshan cried out involuntarily. He was filled with utter disbelief. The sea goddess was the goddess of the sea race. She was a respected champion, yet her people wanted to do such things to her. Sigh, Her Majesty has already disappeared for too long. After so many years, Her Majesty's awe is no longer enough to influence all the experts of the sea realm. In these years, every hall master of both halls have tried various ways to find the divine hall in an attempt to devour her soul and reach a greater level of cultivation. But the abyssal crystal can only be found in the very depths of the Sea of Despair. The Sea of Despair is boundless and it all looks the same, so it's very easy to get lost. Also, there are many great dangers. Even emperors can meet life-threatening dangers if they enter it. As a result, no one was able to find the divine hall even after so many years of drifting in the Sea of Despair. However, the crystal on you broke the peace of the sea realm. Jianchen slowly digested this information as he thought in silence. What he heard from the hall master had completely overturned everything he knew about the current situation of the sea realm. He had once learned from Tianjian that the sea goddess was not dead. At that time, he still believed that the sea goddess possessed her full strength and was currently the most powerful existence in the world, completely surpassing Saint Emperor. But the truth completely exceeded his expectations. The sea goddess was not dead, but she had lost her body. She existed as a soul, only able to hide in the divine hall. She could not leave, constantly faced with the threat that the hall masters of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall would devour her. Jianchen sucked in a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. He stared at the hall master keenly and said, "Hall master, do you want Junior to hand the abyssal crystal over to you?" The hall master paused and turned toward Jianchen. Although he could not see her face, he could clearly feel a sharp gaze focused tightly on him. It made his eyes hurt as if they were stabbed with needles. Jianchen, the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall may have ill intentions for Her Majesty, but we, the Sea Goddess Hall, remains loyal to Her Majesty. For Her Majesty's safety, you need to hand over the abyssal crystal and temporarily place it in my personal care, said the hall master. Jianchen hesitated slightly. However, he knew that he had no other choice, so he handed the mysterious key over to the hall master straightforwardly. Jianchen, you may not be a member of the sea race, but you've been chosen by Her Majesty. You've also been gifted the Niden from a member of the imperial clan to mask your presence. Just stay in the hall in the future and devote yourself to cultivation. Power up as fast as you can. I'll gift you a hall elder's medallion. In the future, you can enjoy the same treatment as hall elders among the Sea Goddess Hall, said the hall master. If Junior became a hall elder, Junior will no longer be able to enter the territory of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall, right? Asked Jianchen. Correct. We three halls have an agreement. Without permission, the people of the halls cannot leave their own territory. If that's the case, then Junior will not be taking the medallion. Jianchen flatly declined the position as a hall elder. Compared to the golden silk mail, the name and status of a hall elder was nothing. He would take back the golden silk mail from the divine general one day in the future. Chapter 896. A furious Qin Yishuan. Jianchen declined the status of a hall elder without any hesitation, which caused the hall master to stare blankly. This was the first time a saint ruler had ever been offered a position as a hall elder within the sea realm. She would not have treated Jianchen so well if it were not for the fact that he had been chosen by the sea goddess. This was because within the three great halls, there was only one method to earn the status and position of a hall elder, and that was to reach the peak of the 16th star. Other than an indication of strength, the position of a hall elder in the sea realm was also a representation of status. It represented supreme glory. The position was only second to the hall master and was the objective of countless members of the sea race. You actually declined my invitation. The hall master's voice was filled with shock. She originally thought that Jianchen would ravish with joy, but never did she think that he would not show any emotion and would even end up rejecting the position. Are you worried over the fact that it might raise the disagreement of the other hall elders if you become one with your current strength? If that's the case, there's nothing to worry about. The status is personally bestowed by me, so they can't do anything to you, said the hall master. Hall master, a treasure of mine was stolen. When I become strong enough in the future, I need to go to the Serpent God Hall and retrieve it. That's why I can't accept the position, Jian Chen explained. He was worried that his declination would make the hall master unhappy. If that's the case, then forget about it. The hall master walked up to her throne and sat down. She then continued, if that's the case, then you can be a guest of the Sea Goddess Hall. You'll enjoy a similar treatment to Qin Yishuan, Lei Batian, and the others, but you won't be a person of the Sea Goddess Hall. I thank the hall master's bestowal. Jian Chen thanked her with his hands clasped. With the status of a guest, he could move around in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall much more easily in the future. It would save a lot of pointless trouble. The hall master grabbed at the thin air. Immediately, a powerful energy quickly gathered, before finally condensing into a palm-sized blue medallion. She said, take this medallion. There's a sliver of my presence in there. It's what identifies you as a guest. With it, you can enjoy a similar status to the ordinary elders. You'll be able to move freely through some public spaces of the palace. Jian Chen accepted the medallion and immediately felt the ripples of a vast energy from within it. The medallion was a materialized energy which made it countless times harder than steel. Jian Chen immediately shivered when he realized that the hall master really was a saint emperor after all. She was able to condense vast quantities of energy into the medallion with a wave of her hand. That was some terrifying strength. Jian Chen sighed deeply after he left the hall. Only now was he truly safe, no longer needing to worry over the potential ill intentions of the Sea Goddess Hall. I never thought that the mysterious woman who gave me the water spirit's pearl was the Sea Goddess. No wonder she had appeared as an apparition of her soul. She only has her soul left. Jian Chen sighed inside. He had learned the true identity of that woman from the hall master. No wonder that mysterious woman knows about the things happening on the Tianyuan continent, and no wonder she was brave enough to declare that she would block the experts from the Beast God continent. Turns out she's the sea goddess of the four champions from the ancient times. Jian Chen gasped as he thought back to when he first met the mysterious woman. Never did he think he would meet the sea goddess as soon as he entered the sea realm. The only pity was that he did not know who she was when he had met her. Jian Chen moved through the palace by himself with the medallion in his hand. He walked outside by backtracking the way he came in, coming back to where he had separated from Xia Wang and the other four very quickly. The five of them had not left and instead remained there waiting for him. However, everyone now looked at him with a weird gaze. Jian Chen, did you meet the esteemed hall master? What did the hall master say? Is she going to make things difficult for us? Are we safe now? Do we have to face the pursuit of the Sea Goddess Hall now? Xia Wang asked nervously. The Sea Goddess Hall was his final sanctuary. He was worried that he might not be able to stay here anymore. Jian Chen revealed a smile. He could understand Xia Wang's worry. Those days of flight had made him rather tired as well. Jian Chen raised the guest's medallion and said, "Don't worry, we're safe now." That's the guest's medallion. You become a guest of the Sea Goddess Hall. Lei Batian and the other three stared wide-eyed at the medallion in disbelief. Right now, they were even doubting their eyes. A mere saint ruler had actually become a guest of the Sea Goddess Hall. Suddenly, Mo Xiren's complexion changed greatly. His eyes immediately popped out as he cried out uncontrollably, "It's the presence of an emperor." The medallion was issued by the hall master herself. What? The expressions of Lei Batian and the other two changed as well when they heard that. Their medallions had all been issued by hall elders, yet Jian Chen's medallion was from the hall master herself. Didn't that mean that Jian Chen's status in the Sea Goddess Hall was now greater than all four of them? Also, basically only hall elders had the right to receive medallions personally issued by the hall master. Jian Chen, just what relationship do you have the hall master? Why does the hall master treat you so well? With that, Jian Chen pulled out a white cloth from his space ring. The white cloth was the undergarment Jian Chen had taken from Qin Yishuan. It was folded up neatly and it still possessed Qin Yishuan's unique fragrance. Jian Chen thought Qin Yishuan wanted this back, so he absent-mindedly pulled it out. Qin Yishuan's beautiful face became completely flushed when she saw Jian Chen pull out the piece of clothing. She became bright red from ear to ear as her face burned. This, Lei Batian and the other naturally noticed the white cloth in Jian Chen's hand. They recognized exactly what it was with a single glance from their thousands of years of experience. Each and every one of them became tongue-tied. Their faces were filled with disbelief and incredulity. Qin Yishuan, that can't be yours, right? Lei Batian stuttered as he pointed at the white undergarment and stared at the flushed Qin Yishuan. O Yun, Mo Ziren, and Xia Wang all revealed an even weirder expression. Their lips were stretched into a long, flat line, struggling to not burst into laughter. Qin Yishuan became even more embarrassed with what Lei Batian had said. She was tempted to just find a hole and hide in it. She originally wanted Jian Chen to return the Octaterra map fragment, but never did she think that Jian Chen would pull that out, especially before so many people. You bastard, you're dead. Qin Yishuan screamed out with an ear-piercing voice as she raged with shame. She raised her sword and chopped it toward Jian Chen mercilessly. Chapter 897, Ruler of the Turtle Clan. Qin Yishuan bristled with rage. She lifted her sword with her right hand, charging toward Jian Chen as she blushed with killing intent. She was tempted to dice Jian Chen into countless pieces. Qin Yishuan, don't forget that we're in the hall. Lei Batian smiled, but he did not show any intentions of obstructing her. A resplendent blue light rose from the ground and encased Qin Yishuan completely. The blue light did not seem particularly impressive, but it was filled with an extremely powerful energy. It formed a jail that imprisoned Qin Yishuan within. Some more blue light entered her body, sealing off her power. It cut off her control of Saint Force. You bastard, there will be a day where I personally kill you. Despite being immobilized, Qin Yishuan did not calm down at all. She stared viciously at Jian Chen. From her gaze, it seemed like she was tempted to devour Jian Chen whole right there and now. Jian Chen forced a smile as he watched just how furious Qin Yishuan was. If Qin Yishuan really wanted to kill him, he probably would need to remain in the Sea Goddess Hall and never leave. After all, Jian Chen did not even possess the ability to run from a fifth heavenly layer Saint King like Qin Yishuan. Qin Yishuan, brother Jian Chen, is now a guest of the hall and he was appointed by the hall master herself. Do you really think there will be any places left for you if you kill brother Jian Chen? Sniggered Lei Batian. He snickered inside as he saw exactly how irritated Qin Yishuan had become because of a junior. Never would I even think that I would be able to personally witness the defeat of such a prideful woman. Qin Yishuan has really lost all her dignity this time, to have her undergarment stolen by a junior. Lei Batian laughed inside. Qin Yishuan's gaze remained just as vicious as she said furiously, then I'll just leave the Sea Realm and return to the Tianyuan continent. Qin Yishuan, is there really any room left for you on the Tianyuan continent? Do you really want to return to that lifestyle of constant flight? Mo Ziren said gruffly. Mo Ziren's words immediately caused Qin Yishuan to gradually calm down. The light in her eyes flickered with consideration, but her hatred for Jian Chen did not decrease at all. An old man walked over from afar. Qin Yishuan, you can even be considered as one of the senior members of our hall. You should know the rules within the palace perfectly well, so how did you make such a low-level mistake and attack someone within the palace? We greet the hall elder. Lei Batian and the others all clasped their hands at the old man. I greet the hall elder. Jian Chen did not hesitate either, greeting the old man as well. He was the hall elder who had led him to the hall master before. The hall elder's gaze toward Jian Chen had now undergone a huge change. As he glanced at the piece of white cloth in Jian Chen's hand, he immediately understood what was going on. His lips could not help but curl into a faint smile, before he pointed out with a finger. The power of the hall freed Qin Yishuan. Jianshen, as a sea race ruler, there will definitely be a day where you reach the same level of cultivation as me. You should just call me Elder Hong. Elder Hong was amicable. He then glanced at the furious Qin Yishuan and said unhurriedly, Qin Yishuan, Jianshen is a ruler, so you should know exactly how important he is to the sea goddess hall. I hope you won't commit an unforgivable mistake over these small matters. Qin Yishuan gritted her teeth but said nothing. She obviously knew what a ruler meant to the hall. They represented a future hall elder. They were able to reach the peak of Saint King at the very least and even had an extremely great chance of reaching Saint Emperor. This was proven by the fact that all 3 hall masters of the sea realm were rulers. Even most of the current hall elders in all 3 halls were rulers. Elder Hong said to Jianshen again, Jianshen, you're a guest who's been personally appointed by Her Majesty. You may not be strong enough yet, but you'll be able to enjoy the same treatment as all of the other guests. You'll have your own hall inside the palace and receive 100,000 grand quality crystal coins every year. The elder passed a jade pendant to Jianshen as he said that before continuing, that's the key to opening your personal hall. You should be able to find your hall using this key, and it should also allow you to control the barrier specially fitted to the hall. If you want to cultivate, you can activate the barrier and separate yourself from the outside world. It'll prevent disruptions. I thank Elder Hong. Jianshen thanked him with clasped hands. Elder Hong chuckled and said, these are the things that you deserve, so there's no need to thank me. Alright, since I've given you everything I need to give you, I need to go complete the hall master's mission. It's about time I leave. Elder Hong turned around and departed. Jianshen, return the map fragment to me. Qin Yishuan's furious voice resounded in Jianshen's ears with Elder Hong's departure. All he saw was Qin Yishuan staring viciously at him with a darkened face. Jianshen shook his head. Senior, Junior spent so much effort before finally obtaining the map fragment. As Junior still has uses for it, please forgive me for not being able to return it to you. You, Qin Yishuan was absolutely infuriated. She pointed at Jianshen as she could not find the right words to say. She did not dare to do anything to Jianshen right now, so she forcefully swallowed the threat that she had just thought of. Jianshen, I will never let this go just like this. Qin Yishuan left angrily after she threw that down. She snatched the white undergarment from Jianshen's hand as well and ripped it into pieces. Hee, Brother Jianshen is so talented to reduce such a prideful woman to that. I'd like to see whether she has the dignity to meet people in the future, and I want to see if she'll still act so aloof. Lei Batian could not help but snigger evilly after she had left. Jianshen, Lei Batian, O Yun, and Mo Ziran then conversed casually, before they all left. Although they were extremely curious about Jianshen's saint artifact, they no longer dared to have any ill intentions after learning about Jianshen's relationship with the sea goddess hall. At this very moment, a figure charged over from afar with an extremely great speed. He crossed over 12 kilometers in the blink of an eye, arriving before Jianshen. He was a hunchbacked old man who was covered in wrinkles. His hair was a bleak gray and each strand was shriveled. He seemed to have lost the vigor of life. Ruler's Qi, it's the ruler's Qi. It's the ruler's Qi of my turtle clan. The old man's eyes shone as he stared fixedly at Jianshen. He was extremely excited. This is the ruler's Qi of my turtle clan. It's the ruler's Qi of my turtle clan. A ruler has finally appeared from my clan. The old man said with a trembling voice, constantly murmuring to himself as he stared at Jianshen excitedly. The turtle clan's ruler's Qi. The old man's words stunned Jianshen, but he seemed to think of something very quickly. He was secretly surprised as he thought, perhaps it's the ruler's Qi of the water spirit's pearl? Did the sea goddess give me a water spirit's pearl forged from the Niden of a ruler from the turtle clan? Child, tell me. Which tribe do you belong to? The old man said excitedly as he held on to Jianshen's hand. Senior, you're mistaken. I don't belong to your tribe, Jianshen explained. He could already see that this uncouth old man was a saint king, not someone he could afford to offend. Since you're not a member of our tribe, then you must be a ruler who has grown up in the wild. All right, that's even better. I'll take you to the turtle clan this instance. The old man left the hall as he pulled Jian-Chen along. He flew toward the outside. Oi Jian-Chen, wait for me. Xia Wang chased from behind hurriedly. He now depended on Jian-Chen. He would not part with him no matter what. 30,000 years. A whole 30,000 years. A ruler has finally appeared for my turtle clan, the old man muttered constantly. He was extremely excited. Senior, you've mistaken. I'm not a ruler of your turtle clan, Jian-Chen constantly explained in an attempt to break free from the old man's grasp. However, the old man's hand clamped tightly onto his arm like a great claw. He was unable to break free no matter how he struggled. All he could do was let the old man tug him off to some unknown place. It's not wrong, there's nothing wrong. People of the same clans will feel a similar response. I can feel the ruler's chi of the turtle clan from you. There's no doubt in you being our ruler, the old man said confidently. As Jian-Chen was forcefully taken away from the hall by the old man, the white-clothed Qing Yishuan also appeared silently before the entrance of the palace. She stared coldly at Jian-Chen's back and said hatefully, I didn't think you'd leave the palace so quickly. God is really smiling at me. Once I swap the map fragment for that item, I can return to the Tianyuan continent. Qing Yishuan directly leaped off the floating palace. Afterward, she erased her presence and carefully headed off in Jian-Chen's direction. At the same time, the matter where the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall and the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall fought Qing Yishuan and the other 3 spread like wildfire through the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. In that battle, a total of 11 16th star experts had fought as they retreated, covering a distance of over 100,000 kilometers. Wherever they passed by, the ground below would be obliterated and turned into a mess by the powerful residual energy, alarming many experts. It caused a great commotion within the Heaven Spirit Hall's territory as various rumors proliferated. At the same time, a similarly shocking piece of news spread in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. A disciplinary elder of the Heaven Spirit Hall and 2 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall had actually been captured by Atlantis, the Hall Elder of the Sea Goddess Hall. They were led away toward the hall with a rope like homeless curs by Atlantis, disgracing themselves. These 2 pieces of news spread throughout the entire sea realm extremely quickly. It caused great shock to countless members of the sea race, while various rumors burgeoned. Many people believed that the peace of the sea realm was about to be broken and war between the 3 halls was about to erupt once again. The Sea Goddess Hall was founded by the great sea goddess herself. She's undoubtedly the greatest ruler in our sea realm. I swear to protect the Sea Goddess Hall. Many supporters of the Sea Goddess Hall swore in their hearts at the same time. Although they lived in the territories of different halls, many people still venerated the Sea Goddess Hall as the greatest. The sea goddess might have disappeared for countless years, but the awe she had left behind still affected many of the sea race citizens. 5 hall elders knelt uneasily on the floor in the palace of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Their faces were all filled with unconcealable fear while a burly, middle-aged man stood in front of all of them. The man's appearance was extremely ordinary without any special features. However, he radiated with a frightening pressure. You pieces of trash, you couldn't even do something so simple. You actually just watched the abyssal crystal get taken away right before your eyes, and a disciplinary elder has even been taken by the Sea Goddess Hall. Just what use do I have for you all? The abyssal crystal was so important, yet you sent other people to go deal with it instead of yourselves. Just how did you miss such a good opportunity? The middle-aged man was furious. Please calm your anger, Hall Master, please calm your anger. The 5 of us managed the matter poorly. Please punish us, Hall Master, a hall elder said with a low voice. Chapter 898, Lurking Danger, What use is there in punishing you? Will punishing you recover the abyssal crystal? The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall said heavily. His eyes shone with an outrageous light, while an invisible pressure permeated the entire palace vaguely. The entire world seemed to be in his control. We've disgraced ourselves this time. Not only were 2 elders killed by 3 14th star brats, even a disciplinary elder of ours has been taken by the Sea Goddess Hall. We need to recover our dignity. We can't let go of those 3 brats no matter what, or where would our dignity lie otherwise? Send orders to get the brothers Zhou Tianzi and Zhou Yunzi to infiltrate the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall and kill off the 3, the Hall Master growled. Zhou Tianzi and Zhou Yunzi were a pair of twins and also 2 of the 8 great human experts. They were 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings or 16th star Sea Soul warriors. As the Hall Master wishes, the Hall Elders all answered courteously. In the largest, most central hall in the territory of the Serpent God Hall, Hall Elders Bai Yan and Charlie sat sunken-faced. Before them stood 2 gloomy men. They were the 2 divine generals who had managed to flee the land of the Heaven Spirit Hall. The hot-tempered Charlie crushed the valuable teacup in his hand after he heard their reports. He said furiously, "The Heaven Spirit Hall actually blocked us from doing what we needed to do, and they ruined it in the end. I'll remember this, and I'll be paying it back several folds in the future." Bai Yan also sat there sunken-faced without making a sound. They had lost the abyssal crystal and they were completely responsible for it, since the 2 of them were tasked with it initially. Sigh, if I had known that my good-for-nothing disciple would mess this up, I wouldn't have sent him to complete this mission. Bai Yan sighed regretfully. Charlie was absolutely furious after he heard this. He roared angrily at Bai Yan, "It's all your fault. Wasn't it you who wanted to act smart at the beginning, sending a few emissaries to pick it up in order to avoid attracting attention? Now, look at what has happened. If you went with what I said and directly sent a few elders or me personally to retrieve it, the crystal would be in our hands long ago. There wouldn't be so many problems like right now. Are you satisfied with the outcome now? The crystal has been taken into the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall by some brats, and the Sea Goddess Hall definitely has the power to learn of its existence. They definitely will not let the item exist, destroying it in the first instance they get it. I'd like to see how you explain this to the Hall Master after he comes out of seclusion." Bai Yan sighed gently as he sat there silently. He knew that there was no more room for redemption regarding this matter. "Guards, bring me Yensen, that motherfucker. I want to rip out his spine, skin him alive, drink his blood and eat his flesh." Charlie yelled madly. Very soon, Yensen was forcefully dragged over like a dog by 2 guards. He seemed to know what was about to happen, becoming pale white from fright as all the blood drained from his face. "Spare me, Hall Elder, spare me. Yensen knows he's wrong, Yensen knows he's wrong. Yensen doesn't dare to make such a big mistake ever again. Save me, Master, please save me." Yensen constantly banged his head on the floor as he groveled for his life. He no longer possessed the arrogant, condescending attitude that was present outside. Currently, Yensen was filled with regret. If he had known that the situation would end up like this, would he still have offended Jian Chen at the very start? He currently wished for time to flow backward, to return to that moment from before so that he could make a different choice. You've made such a huge mistake and yet you want to beg for your life? You're dreaming. Killing intent erupted in Charlie's eyes. He directly stabbed his hand into the back of Yensen's neck, before pulling it out abruptly. A bloody spinal cord was ripped out of Yensen's body by Charlie. Yensen produced an agonizing cry. His entire body convulsed violently. Having his spinal cord ripped out made him suffer unendurable pain. Shortly afterward, Yensen's body began to change at a visible rate. He began to expand quickly, becoming a 5-meter-long, deep blue sea creature. He seemed like a snake, yet not like a snake, like a serpent, yet not like a serpent. This was Yensen's original body. Yansen was no longer able to remain in his human form after his spinal cord was ripped out. He did not die immediately, but he was on the brink of death. Bai Yan sighed gently as he watched Yansen end up like this. Yansen's mistake was just too severe. Even if he was talented, even if Yansen was his disciple, it was difficult for Yansen to escape with his life intact. Drag this piece of trash out of here. I'll properly deal with him after I handle the matters here, Charlie said angrily as he held the bloody spinal cord. Very quickly, Yansen was dragged away by the two guards. All that was left was a great pool of blood in the hall. Bai Yan thought silently for a while, before standing up from his seat. It may be Yansen's fault for this matter, but we can't forgive those people who stole the item. Send Li Fengxin personally to pay a visit to the Sea Goddess Hall's territory. We can't let those people off. We need to make them die a graveless death. Charlie clenched his fists. His gaze shone with outrage. Soon afterward, a white-robed, middle-aged man left the Serpent God Hall. He shot toward the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall as a streak of white light with lightning speed. He was Li Fengxin, the greatest of the 5 great magical beast experts of the sea realm. His true form was a mutated savage beast and he possessed an extremely powerful strength. Jian had no idea that both the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall had sent experts that currently headed to his location. He was still being tugged along by the old man from the Turtle Clan, now very far from the hall. They finally stopped before a huge tribe after traversing over 300,000 kilometers. It was a large tribe. All the huts of the tribe were made from mud through a certain ability, making it extremely tough like steel. Before the main entrance of the tribe stood a great archway, labeled with the words, Turtle Clan, which was written with vigor. These words were simple and they had already existed for who knows how long. They possessed traces of wear from time. Our Turtle Clan is a large tribe within the sea realm. There are so many members that it has almost spread across the entirety of the sea realm, with countless branched tribes. Although it's not a tribe that stands at the very top, it has some renown within the sea realm. The tribe before you is the main headquarters of the clan, explained the old man to Jian, before he continued onward as he tugged Jian along. He did not even give Jian the chance to resist. We greet the Grand Elder. Several Earth Saint Master guards outside recognized the old man and all bowed courteously to him. Afterward, they looked toward Jian, revealing uneasy glances. The ruler's qi in Jian could only be sensed by outsiders after practicing a secret technique. However, if they met other clansmen, there would be a natural response from their bloodline. The guards were all members of the Turtle Clan, so they felt a pressure from the very depths of their souls when they saw Jian. They felt a slightly odd dread toward him. I greet the Grand Elder. I greet the Grand Elder. There were many people around and about in the tribe. The old man pulled Jian along, directly making way for a grand hall up ahead. All the people he passed by would bow toward him respectfully and courteously, before observing Jian curiously. They all ended up revealing uneasy expressions without any exceptions. As members of the Turtle Clan, they could all feel a slight pressure from the very depths of their bloodline. Weirdly enough, they felt a sliver of respect and dread when they saw Jian, which confused all of them. They had no idea why they would feel such feelings towards someone they did not know. Ring the central bell and gather all elders, the old man commanded. Afterward, he tugged Jian straight into the grand hall, forcefully pressing Jian down onto the throne in the hall. He did not give Jian any chances to resist. Senior, you've mistaken. I'm not actually your ruler, Jian was bitter. He had already said this countless times, but the old man firmly believed him to be the ruler of the Turtle Clan. Ruler, you don't need to say any more. You're undoubtedly the ruler of our Turtle Clan. That's the irrefutable truth. I've brought you back to the Turtle Clan for you to inherit the position as the ruler and make up for the rulerless gap of 30,000 years, the old man spoke with absolute determination. He was certain about Jian's identity. The deep sound of a bell rung through the entire tribe. Very quickly, people hurried over from all directions one after another, all gathering in the hall. There was a dozen or so of them in total, all of different ages. However, they were all saint rulers. As soon as they entered the hall, they discovered Jian Chen who sat on the throne. They all became stunned, revealing expressions of shock and doubt. Is this the ruler's chi? A middle-aged man stared fixedly at Jian Chen as he spoke with a shocked voice. He seemed rather uncertain. After all, it had already been too long since a ruler of the turtle clan had appeared. That's the ruler's chi of our turtle clan. Is he the new ruler of our clan? It has been 30,000 years since a ruler has appeared for us. Never would I have thought a ruler would be born now. Just when was the ruler born? How come we had no idea about this at all before? All the people in the hall broke into discussions. They had already noticed the ruler's chi from Jian Chen. Grand Elder, why did you come here? Weren't you focusing on your cultivation at the hall? Have you gathered us all just then because you've brought back some important news? An old voice boomed from outside the hall. Two skinny old men walked in together, while many other saint rulers followed behind them. More saint kings. Jian Chen was surprised when he saw the two old men who walked at the front. The turtle clan actually had a total of 3 saint kings. That made it quite a powerful force. The Grand Elder stood beside Jian Chen and stared deeply at the two old men. He laughed and said, "Second Elder, Third Elder, you've come at the perfect moment. Now that a ruler of our turtle clan had appeared, it's time for us to regain our former glory." What? A ruler of our clan has appeared? The two elders were shocked, before looking toward Jian Chen who had been pressed down into the throne. Their eyes narrowed abruptly. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.